We are back, baby. We are fucking back.
We're back.
Yeah.
Classic.
We are back.
That's
we
right.
are back. We are getting Doug back.
Oh, boys. I'm back.
Hello.
Hi.
It's nice to see you again.
It's been a minute, yeah?
I know. It has.
Wow.
It's been a long time. It's been 4 months-ish.
When did we,
I guess, yeah. I had a baby end of September. And so we stopped a little before that, but I had an episode come out right after, I think. So it's been a hot minute.
it's been a minute, yeah.
Yeah.
Hi,
And
everybody.
hello. We have missed you dearly.
We
We missed
have.
doing this. We're very excited to be back. And already have big plans. We've been filling up kind of our next few episodes. We're back in the swing of things. I think we'll be on the normal every other week schedule by the time this comes out. And I guess the first piece of major news is that the next episode after this is going to be our Movie Bonerz Awards, which
Kind of a big deal.
very big deal. I loved doing it last year and had to come back in time to do this year. So that will air, or we'll be recording it live March 7th at 7:15 Mountain Time. If you want to join the live stream, otherwise it'll be a normal podcast episode up right after that. And that is a lot of fun. We've already reached out to a bunch of guest presenters, kind of like last year. There'll be some familiar faces, old friends, and quite a few new ones as well. We're trying to spread it out and get some variety, and I'm pretty excited about it. It's going good
It's
so
going to
far.
be a good time. It's going to be interesting for reasons I'm sure you'll hear us both talk about in this episode. So
Yes, yeah. So in this episode, we're planning on mostly catching up, seeing where we're at, seeing what we're doing, and as we normally have done in the past, talk about movies that we've seen during the break. We've seen a lot of different things, I'm sure, over the last several months. So share thoughts on all of those. And then also compiled a good amount of movie news, things that have been going on, new trailers, new announcements, a bunch of different things going on that I think are worth talking about and getting our opinions on and sharing some expectations, at least as far as those go.
yeah, expectations are going to be high from my end on things.
Yes. Yeah. And then, so we're going to record things a little out of order. Right after this episode, we're going to record our movie draft. So that is definitely still happening. You will hear a winner, but that episode will not go up until after the awards, just because we wanted the awards pretty close to the Oscars. And so we'll do the awards right after the Oscars. And then you'll hear the movie draft announcement after that. So there will be some exciting things from that, I'm sure, as well. And then we'll look forward to all the movies coming out this year in 2025 and choose the best ones in that episode in the future.
Yeah, the ones that we're going to hope turn out to be good.
I think we have a pretty good idea. There weren't that many from last year where we were like, this will definitely be good, and we were wrong. I say that as the person that drafted Argyle super high, like my third pick or something.
Hey, you drafted it
maniac.
so high on a Taylor Swift theory.
It was a gamble that did not pay off.
It's okay. You and I both had gambles that really
Yeah.
did not
So,
work out.
as you would expect, I'm working on a slideshow for that, and I need you to review what benched movie you want to put
Oh my
in
gosh,
for the movie that we both had a movie that did not get released, and so we need to replace it with a benched movie to see if it affects the outcome. We'll see.
Right.
So look forward to that. Let's see. Other announcements before we get into like personal stuff and movie stuff and news stuff. Over the break, we launched a hotline. So if you're not following on Instagram, which you should be following us on Instagram primarily for the awards, which are coming up, because you're going to want to vote for the winner in every category. We'll be putting it to the audience primarily, taking your input and opinions with a grain of salt. You can influence us for sure if you are overwhelmingly in one direction or the other. So go Instagram, go vote for the awards when those go up in a week or so. from the time this comes out. But we also launched a hotline, and I'm pretty excited about it, mostly because so you used to be able to call in and leave a voicemail, and we've had very fun ones over the years. But Spotify, when they bought the platform we were using, took that away. And so I was like, well, that'd be fun to have another way for people to leave voicemails and thoughts and things. So I got us a phone number. It's a very fun phone number because if you want to leave us a voicemail, whether you want to rant about something that you heard in an episode, you're just listening to an episode, you could text us or leave a voicemail. If you just got out of the theater and wanted to vomit your thoughts about a movie you just saw, feel free to do that. Or if you have opinions or criticism or whatever, just feel free to call in, yell at us, or shoot us a text, and we will read it on the show. But you can do that at 724-4-BONERZ with a Z. So it's 724-426-6379, and that is the Movie Bonerz hotline for texting and voicemail. Lines are now open, and what are those?
That was so infomercial.
The switchboard operators
the lines are now open. We are not doing a PBS.
Someone will take your call.
Whatever they
no, we won't. We're never going to answer that phone call. So you're never going to talk directly to us. I don't want to ever do that. But you can leave a voicemail or shoot us a text, and we'll play it on the air.
Yeah.
So that's fun. What else? How are you? What are you doing with these days? How's your life?
Well,
any developments in the last few months? Show-related, movie-related, life-related that you want to share with the people?
Man. I feel like you're laughing. I'm laughing because we both know life kind of 180'd itself on my end of things from last year, and definitely pursuing that pretty heavily now. Man, this is so funny and weird to, I guess, say. If you haven't been following me on social media, then you're probably clueless, and don't feel bad because you don't really need to follow me on social media if you don't want to. That's okay. But for those that have been, I guess, listening to us for a long time, with us for a while, you should know, unless you really don't listen to us, you just have us on in the background, but you should know that I've always been anti-faith, anti-belief systems of all kinds, and a fun, ironic twist that completely changed last year, as you know, Jake. Yeah, so I had a pretty intense encounter last July, and it was all confirmed and cemented actually right after I got back from Colorado visiting you guys. So yeah, your boy Dustin laid down that atheist mentality and went full team Jesus, and it's probably the greatest thing that's ever happened in my life and ever will happen in my life. So it's been really interesting just having the whole 180 complete change in thinking, talking, how I live. It really has upended a lot of things. Interestingly enough, I still watch a good amount of horror movies because I haven't felt that there hasn't been a nope, not happening at all. In fact, actually, being a fan of horror films kind of made me laugh after coming to Jesus, because I'm like, man, these are all super pro faith, and that's interesting because
it's one of the only things that could protect you from the worst things in the world.
So it's been really cool. It's been wonderful. I'm super open to it. I'm very proud of this, so I'm not going to hide any of it. You will notice a change in how I talk, because it also turns out that I really don't swear hardly at all anymore. And I didn't fully realize that had happened to me until actually right after we went on our little hiatus. It was really interesting because my daughter is the one that pointed it out to me, and that was kind of fun. So you'll probably notice a little shift in things. But yeah, it's been really cool. So pursuing that, I'm part of the connections team at the church that my daughter and I attend. And then to top it off, I am also going to Bible college. So it's full on.
Back to school.
Back to school. Different kind of school for sure. And on top of that, I will also be sharing the whole story of how my life 180'd. That is
kind of like a follow-up to the book that you
did, so it'll be a follow-up to I'm Here. For those that are like, what's that? Where have you been?
It's all on YouTube, a book you wrote about kind of your just kind of life and how you got to where you were and how you decided to change course. Even before all of this happened, you were working through some stuff and decided to share it with people if it helped them out. So that's definitely still on YouTube, and you can see that for free.
I'm Here story, all one word. It is on YouTube. It is for free. The point was not to profit off of it. The point was to, just share, hey, here's 30 years of not healthy living, and here's how I tried turning it around. And shortly after that concluded is when everything really changed. So, it's been really cool, man. It's been wonderful. I've never experienced something like this, and it's been pretty awesome.
It's cool to see as someone who's known you for a long time and known you as you've gone through all that I'm Here stuff and had a lot of low times, had a lot of just kind of back and forth, always had that kind of struggle with depression, struggle with just darkness in general. I've noticed that you feel way more upbeat, way more positive, way more completely changed it. So I think it's a very exciting, very positive thing.
Yeah, it's been pretty
I did have that question though. Actually, Christy, my wife, asked me, she's like, how is this going to change the podcast? Is it going to change what you watch? And I was like, I have no idea. We'll just kind of see where it goes. And
so far, no, it hasn't really changed anything. There have been like a couple of things watching movies, and we're going to get into some of it as we dive into this episode of watching some of these movies where things that had already kind of annoyed me in movies, when they pop up now it's just a like, all right, this is... But the cool thing is we all can make the choice. You and I talk about it a lot in previous episodes of like, if you don't like something that's being shown on screen, you can always look away. You can always go and do something else. You can skip stuff if you need to, and not like try and ruin the whole thing for everyone. Granted, there is a movie I'm going to talk about today that I'm going to be like, seriously, people. But
and it's Joker 2.
Oh my gosh.
We'll get into
it. Yeah. But yeah, so far I have not had anything of like, oh shoot, we're gonna have to change the name or do all this other stuff. I don't think a whole lot show wise is really going to change. You'll probably just not hear me really swear, which might be weird, but you're over it. And
I had the thought that could be the case, because so if you haven't followed us on Instagram, haven't seen any of the announcements during the hiatus, we did a couple of other kind of extracurricular things. So you interviewed what's his face? J.R. Stokes. Dang it. J.R. Stokes from... I was confusing it with... So his Instagram handle is Sid Cinematics.
Yeah.
He did that EdgeX feature film, and you did an interview with him, and that was very cool. And then you also went on the Film versus Film podcast to talk about Ridley Scott movies, which we won. Woo!
Yeah, we did.
By the way. I take a little credit for that because I picked American Gangster as our Ridley Scott movie.
Yeah, but then you also you made some weird decisions that I found out during the course of that episode that, what's Jake doing?
Yeah, it was funny to listen to and hear you kind of be put in that hot seat by yourself. It was kind of funny. So yeah, listen to that episode. That's really fun. And then where was I going with this? We did, we filmed a segment for the Couchy Awards. So our friends at the Culture Couch had their first award show, and so we did we presented the funniest moment of 2024. It was kind of fun doing a pop culture thing that wasn't just movie related, and so we talked about the Willy Wonka experience in Edinburgh and the Australian breakdancer during the Paris Olympics and all kinds of funny stuff. But I wrote a script for us to perform and film separately and then splice together. And I put several curse words in there that you did not use. And that's what I was like, there might be a reason for that.
I was like, when I was reading your script, I was like, I'm not even going to tell him, like, I'm probably not saying this. I was like, I'm just going to do it. He'll probably find it funny. He'll probably notice immediately and be like, whoa.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so.
That's cool.
What about
else?
you, man? Is there anything else? There is, but I can't really dive into that yet for you.
Okay, I don't care. That's fine. I had a baby, as we all know. That's the whole reason we took a break, I think. Even though you've been working a lot over the break as well.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about it. So you've been a dad as long as I've known you.
Yeah.
And which is kind of crazy. We're the same age. You were a dad before I had my first girlfriend. Which is kind of wild. And so you're a great dad. I've always looked up to your fatherhood. I think that you're a very cool guy. I think I just always admired your parenting skills and looked up to it. But now that I have 2 kids and you've only ever had the one,
yes,
I do feel like I've kind of passed you and become the level, like, you know, you're down here as a parent, and I'm 2 kids is way different than 1 kid. I'm just gonna say
this episode is taking a weird turn.
It's parenting on hard mode. It's amazing and I love it, but it's a lot. It can be a lot sometimes, for sure. So
I would agree with you. No, I'm just gonna agree with you. You have two rambunctious boys.
Yeah.
Who are not too.
One's less rambunctious because he doesn't move yet, but he will.
But the influence is there. Now, folks, when I say the influence is there, I actually I'm not implying the older brother, just so you guys know. I'm actually implying you because your wife and I had like a quick little joke moment, I forget when, a little while back, about like, I messaged her just saying like, man, you've got like 3 children in your house. How are you doing? She was like, I know. It's like, so I've seen the photos, I've seen the videos of you with your kids, and your parenting is like, oh my gosh, it's so much. Jake, you are the one running around playing dinosaurs and making the noise. And it is. Mine is 15. She doesn't do a lot of that anymore. Actually, she's kind of dropping some of that like shell. So she is slowly getting back into her quirky, silly
She's not
ways.
Too cool for it anymore.
Yeah. So now I never considered our parenting to be competitive.
Until this moment, it wasn't.
Apparently until this moment. So cool. I think you guys really have just like taken the reins on it. And although I don't get to be there to see it firsthand, like you got to be for many years of my daughter's life, it is still really cool seeing your guys's posts and interactions, the pictures that you've like shared with me. It is pretty cool. So yeah, I'm gonna let you have that one, dude. I mean,
it's very gracious of you.
I don't have 2 young boys under the age of like 5. So
yeah,
I do have a 15-year-old daughter about to learn how to drive.
That's pretty rough.
So
yeah. We'll call it a tie. Okay. this isn't really news, but I did want to bring it up because I know you'll judge me, but I think I'm also super into it right now, and so I do want to. Other people have probably seen it.
Don't be.
It's not. It's not yet. It's something that Christy saw on TikTok. So, as a parent of a 2-year-old and a newborn, 4-month-old, not really a newborn anymore, but 4-month-old, it just drives you to experiment with new levels of caffeine, I think. And so Christy saw this thing and we tried it. It's called an espresso sunrise. Have you heard about this?
No.
So it's basically espresso, like a shot or double shot of espresso and orange juice. And I guess you can put carbonated water in it as well. I think most people do. And ice. And it sounds awful. It sounds like it shouldn't work at all. But the first time I tasted it, I was like, I don't know. You mentally have to kind of get over like, okay, I don't know if I like this or not, but I'm into it now. Like I've had after that first day, I was like, I don't like this. And then I set it down and then I went back to it and I was like, oh, I might like this. And then the next day I was like, I want another one of those. And so now I'm super into it. And I would recommend trying it out. It's a pretty amazing little invention.
It's weird. Like you said the two together and I made kind of a like, ugh. But then immediately I thought, well, typically if I'm having like breakfast or brunch at someplace, I do like having a glass of orange juice with my cup of coffee.
Yeah.
But I've never had them together.
You just merged them. Yeah.
I am kind of intrigued by that. I'd probably skip the water.
Yeah. The first couple times I had no water, and then I saw some people were doing that, and I was like, oh, I'll try it out. But yeah, it's right. Pick yourself up some espresso and put it in some orange juice, and thank me later.
Okay.
And then I guess the last normal life news, but partly movie related. During the break, during my paternity leave, my like big project was I put a theater in my basement, and so I got a refurbished projector that's all mounted on the ceiling. The biggest like a screen that I could. This fills up the entire wall. It doesn't even have like a screen behind it, so it's just on the paint on the wall. Some like AV purist nerds are probably going to be like, oh, well, you'd have to have special paint or you have to have the mat behind it. It's fine. Like it's fine. Just put it on the white wall. It doesn't matter. And so it's like, I don't know, 130 something inches, I think, corner to corner. And then also got a used soundbar with surround speakers and subwoofer, and it's pretty fantastic. I've enjoyed that thoroughly, and it has made everything better. So that was a fun little project. I had to clear out the basement in order to fit it in there, but was able to do that, and that's really fun.
That is amazing.
I can put photos online when this episode comes out, because I'm sure some people will be interested in the setup and what it looks like.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna need to see some pictures.
The best part is it's like it's almost not there if you're not using it, so it's like super kid friendly. No speakers on the floor, nothing visible really on the walls. It's all up high on the ceiling, and then once you turn it on, it just kind of appears out of nowhere. It's pretty great.
I love that.
Nothing for anyone to pull down or break or anything.
See, now I'm looking at my living room and I'm like, oh, maybe I could move that and put something. Maybe I don't know. Anyways,
you could get some pretty solid projectors for pretty cheap, actually.
That's cool. I kind of like that.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. I think we can move on to maybe new things that we saw over the break.
Sure.
Good and bad.
Oh, so much bad. So much bad.
I guess one thing for me, tying into not the most recent episode before we went on break, but the episode right before that, our Lost episode. I watched, I don't know if you watched, there's the Getting Lost documentary.
I did not get to watch the documentary yet.
It is very cool. I highly recommend it. There's some stuff in there if you've seen like other documentaries, or you've seen the special features on the DVDs or whatever. There's some things that are just kind of like revisited, but most of it is new. So much of the cast, so much of the original crew come back 20 years later to talk about what it was like. Cool. And what the reactions were like and what they wished happened or what all this stuff. And so it's kind of all new conversations about Lost. And it was really, really, really good. My dad, who's a super Lost nerd, I like texted him. I was like, have you seen this? He's like, yeah, I got it for like, rented it for like $7 on Amazon and I watched it twice in the like 48 hours or whatever that it was available.
That's fantastic.
I was like, what a dork, but that's cool. So yeah, Getting Lost, I definitely highly recommend that. It was like I think it was a crowdfunded documentary that they worked on for a really long time.
That's really cool. Yeah, I know you and I had talked about wanting to watch it, and I'm beating myself up because instead of making the correct decision to watch that documentary, I made the stupid decision, mainly because I was like, this was during my like childhood years. I remember this stuff. This has to be funny. And then it was just kind of gross. But I watched the Jerry Springer documentary on Netflix, and it's only 2 episodes, but yeah.
What was gross about it?
I don't
just like
know,
how they set up the people on the show.
Yeah, there's a lot, because they talked to a couple of the producers, and they show them and the producers talk about how they would rile people up and make sure that they were like on edge before ever going out in front of the camera. I mean, everyone knows it, but it's just there's a weight to it when like when you actually see how they would essentially verbally abuse their guests.
Yeah.
Just for ratings. At one point, like the executive producer, I forget what his name was, but he flat out says like, oh yeah, if I could show people being murdered on screen, I would. Like, and he has no qualms about it. That was a little like, this is just not
scrupulous.
Right at all. Yeah. There were parts to it that I laughed because I was like, I think I remember watching that one day. Like, you know, we'd pretend to be 6 so we could ditch school.
Yeah.
And you were stuck watching, you know, Price is Right and Springer. And
you're like, this will be great. I won't have to go to school. I'll get to stay home and watch TV. And then everything that's on in the middle of the day sucks. It's soap operas
right,
and
like,
Jerry Springer.
This was a bad choice.
Yeah.
But like, it wasn't the worst documentary, but I just didn't feel good about that. It was really just kind of like, yeah, no wonder our culture's where it's at, because, you know, we glorified that so heavily in the 90s. I never realized that he like, and not to spoil the documentary for you people, but they beat Oprah in the ratings, and that I didn't know that. When they said that, I was kind of like, ooh, like cool, because you know, Oprah needs some humility.
Yeah, she's not that great.
Right.
But she is a big deal, and it's kind of amazing anybody beat her, for sure.
Right. It's just a shame that something like Jerry Springer show is the one that did it. So that was the documentary I watched and was like...
When you were leading into that, and I knew that you were going to talk about a documentary, but you were like, it's from the time when we were younger, and it was kind of gross. I thought you were going to talk about... There's a Tom Green documentary that just came out that I really want to see.
I haven't watched it, but I want to watch that one, because I actually think that one will probably end up... I think that one, it's got to conclude on like a cool note, because his life is kind of way different.
Yeah, he's like... Did he move to Canada? He moved somewhere like out in the boonies.
He's like
in the middle of nowhere.
Farmer now, too.
Yeah, he just has like a ranch that he just lives
or
a quiet
rancher,
life.
sorry.
Yeah, it's amazing. But yeah, then kind of like revisits how he got there and all of the insanity of the Tom Green show. Yeah,
man, kids, you don't know this, but yes, there was the Tom Green show, and think of like the cast of Jackass, but rolled into one guy.
Yeah, he did it all.
Who did it all, and you laughed, not necessarily because it was funny, but because you just couldn't believe that you were watching this guy, you know, suckle on the udder of a cow, or...
That one sticks out in your mind, huh?
It really does. That's some images you just never unsee. And that's
I was like, that is so specific.
Yep.
If you've been on Instagram while we were on the break, you may already know this, but I have become obsessed with Frozen 2.
Yeah, I've been wanting to ask you about this obsession because you posted that it's like the greatest Disney movie you've seen, right?
In the CG, like 3D digital age of animation. Yes, I did say that.
You did say that.
Might be a hot take. But yeah, it's not really new. I had seen it before, and I remember it being forgettable. And for some reason, we decided to rewatch it, mostly because my son was watching the first one, and he really liked the snow golem that has like 10 seconds of screen time, and kept wanting to rewind to it. And I was like, let's try something else. And so we tried Frozen 2, and I don't know, it just kind of blew me away. The music is fantastic, way better than the first one. The visuals and the color and everything, but the story mostly is what I love, mostly because Elsa has way more to do. She's actually like a real character that has growth and I don't know, just I connected way more to her arc and everybody's arc. All the characters have much more meaningful things in the second movie, I think. And then, but I was also like, just from the visuals, if I was a little girl and I was seeing this in the theater, it would blow my mind. I would just be like, wow, like there's so many great scenes and visuals and stuff. So don't sleep on Frozen 2. I recommend trying it if you haven't, or revisiting it if you didn't like it. I think it's underappreciated, at least. Even if it's not the best modern Disney movie, it is definitely underappreciated.
Yeah, I remember because my daughter was littler when it came out. And she was like, whoa, that's so cool. But my daughter was also a diehard fan of the original, of the first one. And to be honest, I only remember a couple things from Frozen 2, whereas I remember almost all of the first Frozen. Now, that being said,
sure,
I have a daughter, which means that when Frozen 1 came out,
yeah, you saw it 100 times,
theater and on Blu-ray, we watched it so much that between 4 houses, so mine, my mom and dad's, her mom's, and her mom's mom, all 4 houses, we had to put a Frozen ban in the house because it was just done with this movie. It was so like, we have to have a break. It was unreal the amount that we watched that movie. So I have to put that little like, yeah, I remember the first one so much more because I was forced to memorize it.
Yeah.
And yeah, but I did laugh when you were like, Frozen 2 is amazing, it's the greatest. I was like, where is this coming from? And why is this coming?
Yeah, exactly.
I can't say I agree with that it's like that great, but then again, I haven't watched it for a hot minute.
All right.
But
sounds like you got some homework.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Well, I guess we'll just stay on the heels of Disney. We went and saw the sequel to my favorite Disney movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I knew you would.
Which I cannot believe that neither of us drafted this.
Yeah.
And the more I thought about, like, how did neither of us snag this movie? I realized, like, I don't think either of us knew that it was actually getting made, much like I don't think anyone knew for the first few months.
Yeah, I've had the same thought. I think that the news was kind of confused with the fact that they're also doing a live action remake of Moana. And so you're like, oh, they're making another Moana movie. And you're like, yeah, I know already. And they're like, no, there's another Moana movie, a sequel that they're making, and it's coming out this year. But yeah, it did very well. And I definitely am kind of bummed neither of us drafted it.
I'm really bummed.
Mostly bummed I didn't. I don't really care that you did.
No. You don't need it. You don't need it. You had one too many big hits over the last 2 years, so you don't need them. It was pretty good. We really enjoyed Moana 2. My daughter and I both came away from it both equally like, yeah, it was great. Like, this was cool.
Mm-hmm.
The first one definitely is much stronger of a movie.
How hard was it to keep your expectations, knowing that Moana is your favorite Disney movie? How hard is it to keep your expectations reasonable?
I want to say not that difficult to keep it reasonable. Mainly because I was like, I'm excited for the sequel, but they're also focusing on this live action remake, which I'm really kind of sick and tired of seeing. Like, do we really? And they're
Just
not
as
even
a concept.
I know. I'm like,
Yeah.
I mean, I'll give the Moana live action some credit in saying at least they've got live actors, and so the CGI won't
That's
be
true.
the full movie.
But you know the pig and the chicken and everything's going to be digital, and it's
yeah.
like it's still a cartoon.
It's
on some
still
level.
yeah. So I'm kind of, I don't know. I'm like, my daughter and I are like, we'll see the live action, but don't think you're gonna achieve the same level of heart that first one has. But Moana 2 was pretty cool. It was very entertaining. I'll say that. Yeah, I enjoyed it. Yeah,
That's good. I don't know if I have anything that ties into that, so I'm going to change gears. There's a movie that I heard a lot about online. A lot of people were talking about Rebel Ridge on Netflix and saying it was potentially one of the better movies of the year.
Okay.
And so I was very intrigued by it. And then I learned later it was written and directed by Jeremy Saulnier. I don't know how you say his name, but he wrote and directed Green Room and Blue Ruin and Murder Party, which we've all brought up on the show. And so that was very cool. And I liked it. I definitely liked it. It was going into it, it seemed like it was one thing and it seemed kind of cliche. And then the more the movie went on, I was like, oh, it's not that at all. I actually really appreciate that they misled me thinking that it was something else, because it kind of starts the conversation. So it's about this guy who is just like biking into town, and he gets run off the road by the cops, and they like arrest him and falsely accuse him and take a bunch of his money and stuff. And it seemed on the surface like it was going to be like, because he's a black guy, it seemed like it was on the surface it was going to be like a post George Floyd, like the cops are bad, they're just harassing this guy because he's black and he didn't do anything wrong and all this stuff. And so you're like, okay, I know where this is going. And then it kind of uses that as a popular way that everybody is talking about and probably willing to accept as a, I guess, an entryway into the conversation, to turn it around and be completely about how civil forfeiture is like a major problem. And it applies to all of us, not just, not just black people, but the police have the ability to take your personal property, use that money, use that to their benefit, and you basically never get it back, and there's nothing you can do. And so this character goes through that, trying to get his like cousin, I think, he was trying to use that money for bond to get his cousin out of prison. And then he also is like ex-military or something, and so ends up like fighting the cops in this small town, and it becomes like a really cool action movie. And yeah, it was a really cool movie. So if you like especially Blue Ruin, I think of his movies, it's kind of more like that, more of there's a revenge element to it that comes through really well, and is probably his biggest movie so far that he's done compared to those other three. Because it was on Netflix, it's clearly a bigger budget. I think it's a step in the right direction.
Nice. Well, that's really cool. I did see the hype on it, and it is on I have a big list of like movies of 2024 that I still need to watch, and there's still a lot.
It's kind of overwhelming considering we have an award show coming up.
I know.
I'm like cramming movies.
I will say, with this giant list, as I wrote them all down and then was like kind of revisiting some trailers and just remembering like, oh, I do remember watching, like seeing stuff about this one. The more I looked at the list, the more I'm like, Man, I don't think I was a big fan of the movies in 2024. Like as a whole, is that a hot take? I mean, we have a movie podcast. It's kind of hard being like, there were a lot that I loved, and there's so many that I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah. I don't think it's a hot take. I've seen a lot of people basically say 2024 sucked for movies, or 2024 was a big step down compared to 2023.
Yeah,
and that there were a lot of good movies then. I kind of agree, but I think it's primarily all at the upper level, the blockbuster level, the ones that are highly advertised that everybody knows came out this year. A lot of those were misses, I think. Yeah. Or not underperforming, but below expectations of what people had. But I think as I've been like trying to search out for the award show, okay, what do people think are the best movies? What should we consider? What should we watch? What should we make sure that we have at least seen to have an opinion on? I think that there's a lot of lesser promoted movies that people are saying are really, really good. And so trying to find those diamonds in the rough or hidden gems seems like a big challenge, but I do think that they're out there.
I agree that they're out there. I actually like how you're putting it, where it was like the ones that took all the attention, not all of them, because there's still some great ones. I mean, I was a huge fan of like Deadpool and Wolverine. I thought that was one of the most enjoyable films of the year because it was it did exactly what it needed to be, was just fan service. It was just, we're not going for anything other than, here you go, comic book nerds. Now you got your movie, you got your story. We're going to move on with our lives. Except Disney's going to make both of those guys do it until they're in the grave, not just till they're 90. There were some like really cool ones. I think it's safe to tell you guys that when you watch our awards show, there's going to be some movies that, and I know Jake you probably laughed when you saw like some of the things that I was putting in our stuff behind the scenes. But I stand by what I say on a lot of it, and a couple of them, you guys will probably laugh and be like, oh, of course they're going to do that. Yes. Yes. Because they deserve it far more than others. I don't have a segue, but I am going to go into a movie that I watched that I was like, I had every opportunity to see this in the theater, and for some stupid reason, I just never did. And then it finally shows up on streaming, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to sit down and watch this. And oddly enough, my daughter ended up seeing it before me, and I was the one trying to get her to go see it with me. That math doesn't work. But I'm going to tell you right now, Twisters was like this. Every movie of 2024 should have been this.
Yeah. I saw Twisters too, and I actually forgot to put it on my list of movies I saw. So I'm glad you brought it up. Yeah, it was, I think, one of the movies that I expected to be not as good as it was. You hear there's a Twister sequel, and you're like, why on earth would you make a Twister sequel? But it felt so much like it worked. Like it felt like going back to the original one, but also doing all new things. It felt really cool.
It was really cool. I did find myself just smiling and being entertained. I thought one of the greatest things that movie did was zero agenda. It set out to just be an entertaining 2 hours. Like you said, kind of takes you back to like that first one, the spirit of that first one, which makes sense considering they filmed it in the same way that they filmed the first one.
Okay.
Which is why it looked like it does and why it feels like it does.
It seems like it would be so... I mean, so many disaster movies do that, where it's like, oh, this is because of climate change, or this is because we launched... Or they would try to one-up the previous one. Like Jurassic Park has this problem. They're like, we need a new super mutant... Like the Jurassic Park trailer just came out. A new super mutant... dinosaur. It's like, no, you don't. Like, that is getting further away from why the first one worked. And you don't need some new, crazy, ridiculous reason that these twisters are now way bigger than they've ever been before. It's like, no, a normal tornado is super terrifying. Just do another one of those, basically.
Like, just, it was entertaining. And I had so much fun watching it. And there were plenty of movies that I felt were like, these guys got it. They knew what they needed to do when it came to making a movie. They did it. Twisters got lucky because it was very popular. So it was very successful. But there's a few others that I think should have had far more success than what they got. And we'll talk extensively on them at the award show. But Twisters was, I was like, man, this movie, I can't believe I did not see it in the theater. There's always at least one every year that I'm like, I'll wait. And then when I finally watch it, I'm like, idiot.
Yeah, missed that chance.
Yeah.
For me this year, one of the movies that I wish I had seen in the theater was Monkey Man. I watched that over the break, and it was really, really cool.
I knew you were going to like that movie. Monkey Man was so cool.
It was fun how it was obviously influenced by John Wick. They even referenced John Wick in the movie. And which is a fun, just being in a post John Wick world, but the movie itself is also in a post John Wick world. They know what that is. But yeah, the action, everything, I was so impressed by Dev Patel, and not only his performance in it, but clearly how he approached making that movie, how it came out, how it looked and felt in the story and culture in it and everything. I think it deserves way more credit than it got for probably one of the better movies from this year, I would say.
Yeah, Monkey Man was fantastic. It's one of the few that I feel I saw before you that we were both curious about. I think you ended up seeing a lot more before I did. Weird year, man. It was a weird year. Well, on the heels of Monkey Man, another one that I ended up watching that I was like, this would have been fun to see in the theater, but I didn't feel like I lost anything. But this one went unnoticed. Boy Kills World. Did you get a chance to watch this?
I have not seen it yet. You texted me about it. You're like, this movie is interesting, and you should probably definitely watch this.
So when I tell you that it's interesting, it is. It is a blast. It was It was like if Hunger Games did not take itself serious, like in that kind of setting, and it was a full-blown revenge film. If that's what it was, Boy Kills World was a blast. The voiceover from the dude that does, I can't remember his name, but he does the voice of Bob from Bob's Burgers.
Oh, yeah.
He's the narrator or the inner voice of Boy, the main character.
Okay. H. John Benjamin. He's also an Archer.
Yeah. It was so much fun. It's ridiculous. It's over the top. The violence is hyper. It's that like silly, excessive violence and blood. I had so much. By the time it ended, I was like, oh yeah, that movie, like, this was fun. This was good. Highly recommend Boy Kills World. I really do. That's
really good. One of my most anticipated movies of the year, I finally got around to watching. I watched Long Legs. Did you see Long Legs?
Yeah, I saw that in the theater. I was part of the few that didn't watch any of the marketing for it. I just went and saw it. And
I don't think I saw, because there was like that early like that was very, you couldn't tell what was happening or what the movie was about. You're like, it just was like a vibe. They were like, here's the vibe of the movie. And it's very weird and disturbing. And you're like, I don't know what this is. The name Long Legs is weird, but I'm into it.
Yeah.
And I kind of stopped paying attention after that. I was like, okay, I'm in. I'll watch that. And it was really cool. It was really, really cool. I liked the style of it. I liked the, I remember you talking about it. You were talking about how it's more of a, not horror so much as it is like a Silence of the Lambs detective story. And that's definitely true. Which I really liked, but it is also still creepily dark. Like it's way,
it's really dark.
It's kind of the next generation of Silence of the Lambs, I think, where, and Nicolas Cage's character is amazing in it. And he has a scream in that movie that will forever haunt me, I think.
Him driving the car.
Yeah, it's intense and crazy. but yeah, I think about certain shots in that movie, just like where nothing's really happening, but just the way it is and the way it holds and the feeling of uneasiness it leaves you with. I think about that probably, at least once a week, that I'm just like, oh yeah, remember how great that was? So I want to rewatch it already. I'm like, that was really cool.
Yeah. I still hold, because I enjoyed it. I know a lot of people did not like it after all the marketing that they did for it, like the style of marketing. I'm glad I went into it pretty blind. I like how they did the movie and all that. I think I know the only thing I wish they would have done, and it's weird saying this because I like how the movie went, but I think the intensity level, I think the scare factor, would have been so much higher if the whole movie would have been the beginning, where her and her partner go to the house and she has to search the house. Yeah. I think had the film, because if you did it as patient as that movie actually is, I think you could have fleshed out a lot of the story in the house. You could have done like some flashbacks or with her life
finding
and the way that she's, and then clues throughout the house. I think that would have made that movie borderline like traumatizing.
Yeah, a very unique way to tell that story.
Very unique. Now, that being said, I still liked the movie. I thought the direction it went, I thought the time frame that it takes place in, the decade that it takes place in, when I watched it, and I won't say a lot in case you guys haven't seen it yet, but there's a part of it that I was like, oh yeah, I remember this being a thing. And it is uncomfortable. It is kind of gross, but yeah.
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
Yeah. Hall Lakes was cool. It was not.
I have a long list of ones that are not. So maybe we could go through a few of them. Partly, I feel bad because I'm trying to cram 2024 movies for the awards and watch a lot of good stuff. It's been hard because I've gotten sucked into watching so many bombs.
Dude, no joke.
Six movies that I was like, these have to be decent, and they were awful.
It was so bad. I'll start with one that I didn't think was going to be great, but I was excited for because the first two are so uniquely odd and gross, and I like this writer and director, and so I went into this one being like, all right, it's got a lot of like love behind it. It's got more love than the previous two, and I was like, so let's check it out. And then I finally got around to watching Maxine. Now I
never saw Pearl. I need to get back to that.
Yeah, I liked X. Pearl was very, like, it was so weird and uncomfortable and over the top that I actually kind of liked it more than X, just because it actually gave you a story over gore. Maxine was just, what's the right word? Bored.
It's not what you want.
No, I was really disappointed in Maxine, and by the time it ended, I was even more like, okay, 3 movies for that. Oh, cool. All right. Yeah.
Does it even connect to the other two?
It does. So it's
way?
The way I like how he did this, because it's different than, like, it's so anti-traditional. That's what I like about it. So Maxine is the girl, I guess, spoiler alert, people, is the survivor of X.
Okay.
Pearl is the prequel to X, where the same actress plays the old lady Pearl from X. So it was like, blip, blip, whee. That looks backward on the camera, but you know what I mean. Yeah, I was really disappointed in Magazine. I was like, man, this could have been so much cooler. I was like excited because they were incorporating the Night Stalker, who was a real serial killer, and I was like, this could be interesting. You could do like a Tarantino-esque alternate reality kind of thing.
And it's a cool time frame. It's like the 70s or something.
Yeah. But I just thought it was a super letdown. I was like, all right, that's cool.
Disappointing. A movie, I wouldn't call this a super letdown, but I was excited about it. Y2K from this year.
Oh, I wanted to watch that because it looked like fun.
I wanted to like it, and there's definitely a lot of cute parts in it. It is very nostalgia bait, especially for our generation, and it is fun having the like 2000 nostalgia of the technology and the sidekicks and all of the different things, dial-up internet and everything, along with very violent gore that you kind of wouldn't expect. You expect it to be more of like a PG-13 kind of I don't know if you call it a horror movie. It's about how the Y2K happens and the computers actually like start coming together, the machines start coming together and forming robots and start killing people.
That's what it is. That's awesome.
Yeah. So Y2K actually does happen, and that computer virus starts wiping out people basically by having the machines killing them. So it's pretty fun. It was, I thought it would be really good because Kyle Mooney directed it and co-wrote it, and he's the one that wrote or co-wrote Brigsby Bear, which we both love.
Yeah, that movie's incredible.
It doesn't have as much heart or anything as Brigsby Bear did, and I think the direction's not quite as good because Kyle Mooney didn't direct Brigsby Bear. I think Brigsby Bear was better overall. Part of the reason I think also that Y2K didn't land for me, it's really hard to look past all the Rachel Ziegler drama from Snow White and whatever else. Like, she just seems very unlikable. She's like the main love interest character in it. And it also happens to be like a computer hacker girl. And yeah, just, she's very meh. She's very, I don't know, unmemorable or unlikable or uncareaboutable. Is that a thing? In the Hunger Games prequel, tried watching that, didn't really care. And in this movie, I also didn't really care. So that apathy was kind of a little bit of a letdown, I would say.
Man, Snow White. You know, they played that trailer when my daughter and I went and saw Moana. And it's funny because every now and again, a trailer or a movie, we'll stick with the trailers because that's when you get like audience reactions real time.
Yeah.
Every now and again, a trailer plays where you can hear audible groans and eye rolls. And Snow White was that movie. That trailer played, and you just felt the whole theater shift into like, really? Why? Yeah. And then that was before the Seven Dwarfs showed up, and then they showed up, and it was an even heavier, like, bad form. What are you doing?
It's so confusing, the choices they made in that.
Yeah.
And almost none of it is live action for a live action remake. Just makes no sense whatsoever.
It's like Gal Gadot and whatever the actress's name is at Snow White. Rachel
Ziegler.
Her. It's like, there's your live action, everything. It's like a James Cameron movie. It's just, really, guys? This isn't... Okay.
Yeah, it's a worse done cartoon. For people that... being made by people that don't even like the original.
Yeah. Okay, I wasn't gonna go into this early, but I have to because I was just like, I was right. So I am standing firm on this.
Vindicated.
I am, okay? And I've had a few other people agree with me. Gladiator 2 is a steaming pile of crap.
Yeah.
Oh Like, holy cow.
So you texted me that it was awful, and I told you I would watch it and get back to you, and I didn't get back to you.
You didn't get back.
Partly because I did try to watch it, I fell asleep, and I didn't finish it. But I watched enough to get, I think, the gist, and I agree with you.
It's so...
Mostly because I hate the story thing about Lucius. I hate it so much because it makes no sense. I rewatched Gladiator because I was like, there's no way. That doesn't make any sense why Lucius would be the son of Maximus. The son of the original queen, right, or the daughter of the Caesar, whatever her title is. I was like, how is that possible? And then I rewatched Gladiator, and the second scene in the movie, he meets her. He's like, oh, how's your son? She's like, oh, he's great. He's 2 now. And he's like, oh, same age as my kid. I was like, how and when would you have ever gotten together and know that? So you're telling me that Maximus, the story of this guy who loved his wife and son so much, had an affair with this chick and has a bastard son out there somewhere. That makes no sense to me. I refuse to believe that is true.
So you're vindicated in that because this was one of the things apparently that Russell Crowe had an issue with when he read the script. I guess he did tell everyone, these are not the decisions that Maximus would have made. That's not the character that we put on film to tell this story. He wouldn't have betrayed his wife and child this way.
It completely taints the whole original story and ending.
Well, since you didn't finish it, did you get to... I'm still debating on what... Two levels of this, okay? In terms of Gladiator 2, I can't tell which CGI was worse. The stupid monkeys or the stupid sharks. Did you get to the sharks?
I think sharks.
The sharks looked real bad, right?
Yeah, they definitely looked real bad.
Yeah. They reminded me of Jaws 4 CGI kind of, or Sharknado style CGI, where it was ooh, you blew the budget on this terrible movie and this is what you were left with. And then I had to laugh because it's one of those things where they're the moment a human being touches the water, sharks are gonna immediately attack. And it's not really, but okay. Wow. I hated Gladiator 2. I hated that it tried to reuse exact dialogue from the first Gladiator and took everything that's inspirational, uplifting, humps you up, Hans Zimmer's perfect score, and they try to recreate it, and it's so flat. And it's so dumb.
Yeah.
And it's
it doesn't make any sense for them to try to reuse the same dialogue and not have it be groan worthy. It definitely is.
It was so bad. I hated that movie, but I did love that I was completely vindicated. I was completely yes.
Yeah. You called it way in advance that this was unnecessary. Yep.
God, it was such a steaming pile.
You talking about sharks, though, made me remember every once in a while, something will come up and I'm like, oh, yeah, I need to look up when Tommy Wiseau's Big Shark movie
Big Shark. That was supposed to be out in January.
Yeah, it still hasn't come out and I'm dying to see it. It keeps getting delayed. I think maybe he's showing it. I don't know. I can't find an answer when it's coming out.
We'll have to figure it out.
I don't know if he knows.
He might not.
I guess since we're talking about Gladiator 2 and unnecessary sequels, do we have time to get into Joker 2? Do you want to get into Joker 2? Joker 2, I also a movie that we both said was completely unnecessary, made no sense to do, and is almost guaranteed to ruin or afflict the first one, the original one. And I think it does if you care. If you don't care, it's just going to disappear into obscurity, I guess. I stopped caring as I was watching it. It was hard for me to push play to watch it because I was like, I don't really want to do this. But I did. And there's so many things that happen in it. So first of all, I was kind of sad that we're not going to have a most awkward sex scene in the Movie Bonerz Awards, because this was the one that came to mind immediately. I never thought that I would see Joker and Harley Quinn having sex in Arkham Asylum, and I mostly never thought that I would not care and immediately forget about it.
It's funny you bring that up, because I was like, they have sex in the movie? I don't remember
I
that.
forgot about it during the movie that I was watching, and then later Harley Quinn comes to him and she's like, I'm pregnant. I'm like, when? How was that? Oh yeah, I forgot you had sex like 5 minutes ago.
I completely forgot about all of that. Oh my God, that movie just got worse.
It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. Yeah, Joker 2 is not good. I don't know if I subscribe to Quentin Tarantino's theory that it's all a Todd Phillips joke on Hollywood, on the audience, on the world, that is the joke, that he is the Joker and he got us. I don't think that that's worth giving or thinking that makes any sense.
I disagree with Tarantino wholeheartedly, and I'm actually kind of shocked that, as the kind of filmmaker Tarantino is, that he would say that Joker 2 being Todd Phillips' FU to the audience. I'm kind of shocked Tarantino says that in a positive manner.
Right. Like, why would that be something that
why would you
storyteller should do?
Yeah, why would you want to blatantly tell your audience, I could not care less about you?
Yeah. This movie isn't even for you. I don't know why you're watching it.
Right. Like, God, Joker 2 was just so bad. It was so bad that, like, I remember watching it in the theater, and when the weird singing would start, I was like, okay, so they're doing what I was right. All the singing was him.
Yeah.
Right.
Mentally.
I did have to laugh because I was like, all the press for it, Lady Gaga had been saying, like, well, first off, she was like, it's not a musical, but then she described what musicals are, and that's what it is.
Yeah. It's like, no, they just do some singing, and it kind of talks about how they're feeling and their processing of thoughts and stuff.
Like,
and everybody's like, that's a musical.
That's how these things work, Lady Gaga.
Yeah.
She had talked about how she didn't do her Lady Gaga style singing, that she was like completely stripped down. She sang differently. It was, yada, yada. And the first couple times that she sings, I was like, oh, so, okay, I'll give her that credit. Like, she really is not doing it. But then they do that stupid sequence where she's playing the piano and she goes full Lady Gaga. And I remember in the theater just being like, well, there goes that. Okay. Like, I hated this movie already, but this just made it worse. And, man, Joker 2 was so bad. Like, it is hard to comprehend how bad of a movie Joker 2 is. To the point where even people on the set, did you see the thing with the guy that played the security guard in Arkham? Well, one of the guards.
He's what's his name? He's a comedian. Tim something. Yeah, I did see that.
But he just came out just blasting this movie, being like, everyone knew it was horrible from the start.
Yeah. Tim Dillon, yeah. He said he knew it would be a flop while they were making it.
Like, it's so, everything about it is so bad. And, yeah. So, if you liked Joker 2, did you see like a different cut of the movie than the rest of us?
I have seen people on Instagram, actually somebody I was DMing with said that they didn't like the original Joker, but I did like Joker 2.
Really?
Which I guess can get, because if you don't like something and then you watch something completely different, yeah, maybe you're more likely to like that kind of a thing. So if you like the first Joker, you probably won't like the second one. If you didn't like it, maybe you'll like the second one.
Maybe you'll like it. I think my biggest issue was everything that made me love that first Joker. Yeah. All the intensity, all the chaos, just the escalation, the way that movie escalates and makes you question a few things was really exciting to me.
Yeah. And the world building, the trash, everything just felt you felt like you were in it much more than this movie. This movie, I felt like I was on the outside and I was looking for a reason to get in, and it never gave me one.
It just never gave me. Yeah. And they just took everything and just threw it in the trash in front of you. I
texted you as I was watching it because I was like, this doesn't even feel like a sequel because freaking Arthur didn't even do the laugh tick that he had from the first movie until like an hour into the movie. I was like, oh yeah, that's a thing that this character is afflicted by, except for the last 4 weeks or whatever of his life that I just watched. He never had that problem.
He's magically cured in Arkham Asylum. All right. Good job. Yeah, everything that made the first one work, they just threw away. And I just don't understand it. God. Oh, hated that movie. There were so many movies that I watched this during our break, dude, that I was like, I don't know if I can go on watching 2024 movies right now.
Yeah.
I did try to give one of them a shot because I was like, okay, we have friends that defended this movie. And people, I promise, I'm going to get into a couple that I absolutely loved. But we have friends that loved this movie that they have kept it high on their list of best movies of 2024. And even comments about it, hype about it, all came out, and everyone was saying the exact same thing of it's not what you think. It's not what the trailer showed you. It's not that. Don't worry. Check it out. It's so cool. It's so unique. And so I was bored one day. It's at home. It's like, all right, it's on. So let's see what the hype is. Maybe I will be pleasantly surprised. And I was like, cool, let's give this movie a shot. So I watched Challengers.
Oh, yeah.
See, people, he says that because I was texting him while I was watching this movie.
Yeah, it was the best.
Okay,
so many people have said it's the best movie of the year.
Yes. People, please explain this to me, because there was not a single thing in that movie that I was like, oh, that's interesting. Instead, I spent the whole movie thinking, I'm pretty sure the cast of the first Twilight had more emotional range, had more character depth, had more
love triangle-ness.
Love triangle-ness. They had more energy. This was so bad to the point that I remember texting you, Jake, and being like, I hated Joker 2 so much, and I think Joker 2 is still the worst movie of the year, but Challengers really gives it a run for its money.
Okay, so if you like Challengers, call us 724-4-BONERS and tell Dustin why he's wrong.
Why I'm wrong. And that's fair, because I know so many people and have read so many people's opinions that loved it. I just could not. This movie made me hate tennis even more than I don't care about it.
Yeah. But that's hard to do because I don't know how a tennis movie can be exciting. I've seen some and I'm like, it's whatever. But people are like, this movie's amazing. And I'm like, I don't get it. I haven't watched it. I think maybe I should for the awards, but we'll see if I get around to it.
Yeah, I
already know Dustin removed it from all of her lists. I was like, if people are saying it's good, maybe we should consider it. And you're like, get this movie out of here. We're not doing that.
It's blatantly like, just so you know, I took challengers out. We're not.
Yeah.
I don't
I think
want
I
it.
only had it on the score because I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, they're pretty good. They must have a good score.
So that was one of the biggest issues I had with it. I've loved their score so much, but it was so annoying in challengers. I just couldn't get to it. I just can't do it. I'm sorry, people. I'm sorry. If you loved it, cool. I really did not.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
The last bad or bomb movie that I watched, wasn't in the mood to like invest in something. So I was like, I'll just put this on. I know it's probably going to be terrible, but I also don't care if it's terrible. So I'll just watch it and then I'll know and I'll be able to talk about it. I watched Borderlands. And
man,
it's as good as everybody says it is.
Oh, is it?
It's not good at all. It is a little disappointing because I have played the games Borderlands 1 and 2 and it seems so simple to get right. Like the style is so specific, the jokes, the everything, it seems like it's all there already. They've done it a good job. Copy that. Like just copy it. Like just make a movie that's a piece of that and do all the same things. They just steal some of this visual like stuff, so they're like, this is clearly related to the thing that you know and like, but overall not at all like the thing you know and like, and so I understand why everybody's pissed about it.
Having heard you say that, it sounds, because I haven't watched it yet, and I don't even know if I can bring myself to like hate watch it or even do the like I'll put it on the background and just whatever. Yeah. I haven't even. Yeah, I'm probably not going to. But hearing
some of the action is pretty creative. Like it's not a complete waste of time. If you go into it and you're like, I just want a dumb action movie, it'll be okay. But there's also a lot other.
There's a lot of other better dumb action movies. It sounds like the guys that made the movie Borderlands were like, you know what we haven't done for a while is let's do what Mark Wahlberg and company did with Max Payne, where we'll take a property that is perfect. It's written for us already. Yeah.
Wonderful writing, wonderful story, wonderful everything.
But we're not going to do that.
No. In fact, we're going to introduce a whole bunch of bullshit that doesn't matter, that nobody cares about, and kind of ruins the point of the story. That's pretty much what Borderlands is.
Okay, cool.
The next generation Max Payne. And will probably be forgotten just like that movie was.
Yeah. I like that our return to bringing the show back, like, people, let's celebrate movies together again, and we're like, this movie sucked. What a pile of crap this was.
It was the whole time. We kind of dipped down.
We did.
And now we can start rising back up.
We're gonna rise up. We're gonna upslip now, right? Because we talked Joker 2, and you just really don't get worse than that movie. Unless you watch I Saw the TV Glow, and then
oh yeah, I forgot about that.
That is, I'm not gonna go into it, but
I watched that too.
It
was very dull.
Right.
Yeah, so slow and boring.
And I found myself about halfway through that movie thinking, I don't know that I'm a fan of this guy. I think I liked him in Dungeons and Dragons, and that might be...
the character. Yeah.
And I was like, that might be it for me for this dude.
Yeah, I didn't connect anything to him specifically, but I did wish that there was a reason to be invested in anything that was happening. And I was like, I wanted the weird like show to matter more, maybe matter more earlier for me, there to be a reason. And I was like, it feels like a very much like a weird for the sake of being weird. Like
it felt like a college freshman video project that they were trying to, you know what, this just clicked. It felt like if the character Gabe from The Office with his weird movie taste.
Yeah.
I Saw the TV Glow as the movie he probably made his senior year of high school when he was just starting to get into the weird things.
Yeah, that's very true. I think that some people will like the vibe of it, and that's just like what they connect with. I just didn't connect with it. But I think for some people, like I've talked about how I connect with the vibe of Valhalla Rising, and it's very quiet and slow and violent, and nobody lets it, like not a lot happens for long periods of time. But I just love how it feels. Somebody probably feels that way about I Saw the TV Glow, and it's like it.
And that's cool
it doesn't matter that nothing happens. I just vibe with it.
Oh, vibe with it. Spoken like a true Gen Zer.
I'm trying.
All right, let's talk about some stuff that we actually enjoyed. Yeah? Let's do that. Let's do that. I have to refer to my notes because I kid, people. I kid. I forgot I watched that. Anyways, I thought I had to watch it. I was curious more for the sake of her directorial debut. Yeah. And just because I thought the idea of this was interesting with the timing and everything. So I watched Blink twice.
Yes.
I wouldn't say that it's like great. I wouldn't say that it's, I don't know, that I loved it or anything, but I didn't hate it. I thought it was interesting. And I think Channing Tatum does a decent job playing a real not good person.
A villain?
Yeah. I thought the timing of it is pretty interesting. I like that it actually wasn't hyper preachy on stuff. It just kind of blatantly shows a terrible, gross truth that life of excess seems to glorify. And I thought that was an interesting aspect to it. I think the way that Zoe Kravitz kind of like brought some of the nastier aspects of the story up, the way that she showed stuff, approached certain plot points. I think she did it in a way that she really towed the line on, is she going to cross or will she draw a line? And I was really glad that she does draw a line with a lot of the stuff. My one complaint, though, is the ending was terrible. I would have ended it differently. But it didn't ruin the rest of the movie for me. I thought it was interesting enough. The first time I watched it, I was kind of like, okay, but I've been thinking about it for a couple weeks now, and I'm like, Blink Twice was not half bad, especially for her first outing as director. So
totally.
I think if you haven't watched Blink Twice, it's worth a watch. Just understand that it's got some material in it that probably won't sit well with you, and it shouldn't.
Yeah, so that's kind of the point, I think.
That's kind of the point.
Yeah.
Did you watch it?
I did. I didn't finish it though, so I can't comment on the ending being good or not. I was watching like a pirated cam version, and then I was like, the audio's not great. Maybe I'll revisit this another time. So thanks for calling me out on that. But speaking of things that are uncomfortable, that don't sit well with you, with Terrifier 3 coming out, and I had never seen any of the Terrifier movies. I was like, I need to watch them all. And I did. And I texted you. I was like, do I need to watch All Hallows Eve? And then it was like 9 o'clock, like 10 o'clock your time. I was like, he's not going to get back to me. So I watched All Hallows Eve first also.
You don't lose anything by watching it, but it's not necessary.
I felt like I wanted all of the lore or whatever, in case there was any of this character, to like feel like I was invested in.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I did. I thought that it was good. All Hallows Eve was interesting. Terrifier is definitely much more of a, if you start there, like you said, if you just start with Terrifier 1, you're fine. That's all you need. And yeah, Terrifier 1, way more uniquely violent than I thought it was going to be. I should have known. Everybody talks about it.
Are you saying
but-
I should have warned you when he pulls out the hacksaw? Just take a breath.
And yeah, probably. And I was thinking about it because I was like, I love, and I've talked about how I love. It's not Hacksaw. What's the name of that movie where the guy is also suspended by his legs and the Native American hatchets down
Bone
the pelvis?
Tomahawk.
Bone Tomahawk. I've talked about Bone Tomahawk and how I love the brutality of that as a horror western. And there's a very similar, pretty much exact scene, although it's much more drawn out and disturbing. But I think because it's a woman, you feel very differently about it. Very, very differently about it. And I was like, I do not care for this, but at the same time, I get it. I still dig it, and I'll watch the second one, and I did, and I like the second one. I think probably more. It adds a lot of interesting elements, and then the third one playing on the Christmas horror movie trope, which is something that I've always enjoyed since like Silent Night, Deadly Night, and Santa's Sleigh, and all those horror movies. I liked all of them. I feel like they're very not for everybody, probably not for most people. A very weird group of people will like these movies a lot, and but I would put myself adjacent or in that group for sure. I think that I will definitely watch a fourth one if it comes out.
Oh, it is. It's officially greenlit.
Okay, there you go.
Now, I saw Terrifier 3 before our hiatus. No, it was on the hiatus.
Christmas.
Yeah. I loved it. Now, the second one is my favorite out of the actual art trilogy. The second one is great. I love all three of them, though. I think having watched all three makes me appreciate the first one even more now.
Yeah.
Like, the first one just keeps getting... Every time I rewatch it, I'm like, oh, this first one is... Yes. Like, it's so gross, but this is... The cool thing about the Terrifier franchise is horror is what horror is in it. Like, he hits every trope. He hits everything that makes horror stand out and be memorable. And then he throws in, like, the excessive over the top in the second one, and especially in the third one, where it's so hyper disgusting that if you're in the weird group, as you put it, you kind of find yourself laughing at it because you get the, like, this, you're supposed to be grossed out, but he's doing, it's so 80s style, like 80s mentality to me, that I'm like, this is a celebration of the genre.
Yeah.
And any fan of the
Tarantino
genre
does the same sort of thing where he uses violence as kind of a punchline, and you're like, oh, I get it.
You get it. I love the Terrifier. I'm so glad that you enjoyed it. I'm not going to lie. I was kind of stressing this whole time. I was like, Jake hasn't texted me once about Terrifier since I know he watched them, and I'm nervous. I was like, I hope he at least comes out and is like, yeah, they were cool. Like, I liked them. You don't have to love them as much as I do. That's fine.
No, I really, really like them. I also feel like they will grow on me now that I've seen them, and I already feel like I am excited to go back to it. And the character of Art the Clown makes it entirely, and the performance of him is perfect. And definitely, I understand why everybody gravitates to it, because it is so unique and so well done.
Yeah, and not to give anything away, but the story that Terrifier 3 really opens the whole Art the Clown lore and what's going on. I was like, this is really interesting. And it was actually during Terrifier 3 that I had that kind of like realization of, oh, horror is an interesting genre. Huh. Okay. I loved Terrifier 3. I think one of the funniest things when I saw it was there was this family sitting behind me, and I saw it in the theater right after all the hype of, like, dude, in the UK, people were walking out during the opening scene. People were thrown up because it's just too grotesque. And so I made a joke to this family. It was a dad, a mom, and their daughter about,
how old was she?
She was like, how old was she? She was like 17.
Okay.
And The mom and the dad had never seen anything Art the Clown or Terrifier.
Oh.
Right. And they said that, and I was like, what? Because I made a joke of like, don't you go puking on me now? Because they were sitting in the row behind me, and they're like, what? And so I explained to him, like, oh yeah, people have like thrown up in the theater during the opening scene. And it started this whole conversation. The daughter, she looked at me and she was like, don't tell them that. They haven't seen the others. And I was like, oh, this is probably going to be not a good experience for you. And then the mom is like,
this is where you like, I need to sit in the same row next to you and watch you watching this movie, because that's going to be so entertaining.
Like, and then the mom tells me, well, I'm not a big fan of horror, but she loves it, so we're just here to support her. And I was like,
so supportive.
I was like, oh. She goes, I don't really do well with blood and guts. And I was like, this really isn't gonna be.
That's all it is.
I was like, dude, this movie's 2.5 hours. What are you doing here?
Yeah.
Like,
and they stayed the whole time?
they stayed the whole time.
What troopers?
Well, the mom had told me, she's like, I have my blanket, so I'll just hide under the blanket during the gore. And I was like, as I'm watching the movie, I did think of the mom directly behind me and being like, she's not watching this movie at all. I bet she spends the entire film behind the blanket.
Yeah.
And
this is where you put the blanket over your head and just start scrolling on your phone.
Yeah, you're just like, not for me, not for me.
Yeah.
And
they're trying to ignore the screams.
Right. That's fine. I loved it. I was like, I definitely hit that moment where I usually do in the theater during a horror film, where something so violent and so brutal and gross happens that I laugh out loud. And the shower scene.
Yeah.
I was the guy in the theater that was, I lost it.
Yeah, it's great.
Don't worry, folks. I won't spoil it for you, but
no, you have to see it to believe it.
It's not the scene normal people laugh at, and I only laugh because the brilliance of practical effects is just like, let's just thank you.
Oh, it makes it so much more enjoyable.
It makes it so much more enjoyable. I'm so glad, Jake, that you enjoyed it. I'm not kidding. I have been stressing, like, do I text him? It's like when you're like, you like someone and you're like, do I text them?
Yeah. Is it too early? Should I wait?
For
he needs
months.
to text me first.
For months. Like, he hasn't texted me yet. Like,
that's amazing.
I was so worried when you were like, I have a whole list of movies I did not like that had hype. I'm like, oh no.
I totally forgot like that I told you that, and that I probably should text you after I watched it. I've been thinking like feeling bad that I didn't text you after watching Gladiator, because I told you I would.
I don't care about Gladiator.
No.
I care about.
Oh, it's amazing. 2024 was a great year for horror, though.
It was.
I think as much as people are like, there weren't great movies, horror in particular, so many bangers. I watched In a Violent Nature, which was the kind of like point of view of the killer. Not point of view, but it follows the killer through the whole movie, and then you kind of see, it's like being behind the scenes of a horror movie. It's really cool because you actually like see, oh, here's this truck full of teenagers coming to the lake or whatever, and he just kind of like watches them and follows them. Really well done. Really, really interesting. I was worried that it would feel boring or cliche or something, and it wasn't. It was unique and very well shot, very interesting. Cool. And there are very cool practical effects. There's a one part, I don't even know how to describe it without giving it away. It takes place on a cliff, and when you see the cliff scene, you will probably laugh also, because I did as well. It's a very cool practical effect kill that happens in that movie.
All right.
It's interesting that several of the movies I watched were Shudder originals.
Oh, okay.
If you watch horror movies on Shudder, it's a streaming horror service. But In a Violent Nature was one. Stop Motion was another one. Okay, that came out this year.
I saw that you listed this one.
I listed it for the effects, our effects category. So spoiler alert for the awards, it's going to be in the effects category, regardless of what Dustin thinks. It's a horror movie about this woman whose mother is a stop motion animator, and she's teaching her daughter how to do that and manipulate these little, I don't know what you call them, puppets, little figures, and taking stills and manipulating them a couple millimeters, taking another still. You know how stop motion works.
Right.
It's about that woman who kind of starts losing her mind, and I don't even know, it's really, really cool. It's really, really interesting because there is all of the practical stop motion animation throughout the movie, but she like meets this girl, and this girl starts convincing her to do more and more bizarre things, and she's like, oh, we should work on your movie together, and I have these ideas for your movie. And then she's like, you should use meat to like animate this little guy made out of meat. And then she's like, you should use this dead animal that I found in the woods. And so she starts having these kind of like imaginations or flashbacks or whatever. It's really, really bizarre. Very, very unique movie. And so it gets pretty intense. It is a very effective and good horror movie on its own, but just the stop motion animation element of it, I felt put it way over the top. It's really cool.
That one?
Yeah, that one. So stop motion from this year, I highly recommend I think it's a Shudder original as well.
Yeah, I saw that you had it on there, and I was like, I've never even heard of this thing. What is he doing listing this?
Yeah, it was one of those, like I said, one of those kind of under promoted movies from this year. And then you may have heard of Oddity as well. I think is also.
I need to watch this. I've actually there were two that I really, really want to see, but just haven't gotten around to it. Oddity was one, and then Heretic was the other.
Yeah, I need to get around to Heretic. I've heard a lot of people praise that. But I did watch Oddity, and it's very interesting and cool as well. Kind of it has certain like hereditary feelings to it.
Okay.
It's about like this lady who's a medium who owns like a shop of oddities. She just has like random things. It's kind of like not like a flea market, but like a
what are they called? Like a bazaar?
Yeah, something like that, where it has just like random stuff that people brought in and gave her and pawned her and sold her and stuff. And but she's a medium, so she attaches like different feelings and stuff to it. And it's not as much of a horror movie. There's definitely tense moments in it. But it's also partly like a murder mystery in a way as well.
Okay.
And so I liked that quite a bit. And then I guess finishing out my Shudder list, I watched a movie from 2021 called The Advent Calendar.
Okay.
It's a French movie, and it's really cool because it's about this girl who's in a wheelchair.
Okay.
And she gets this Advent calendar, but it's like once you take the first candy, you can't stop, and you have to have one every day, and every day something happens, and it starts out very like mundane and like beneficial, and then people start dying, but the people that are dying are like people that one guy that like tried to rape her, but she got thrown out of the car instead, and so he ended up in a car accident, and so it's kind of a happy accident for most of it, and then so it kind of like entices her to continue.
Oh,
okay. And then she goes basically through the whole calendar. So it's a really unique kind of holiday horror movie in a way.
Interesting.
I liked it a lot, and being French is very interesting.
Yeah.
So from 2021, The Advent Calendar, I recommend that too.
Okay. Cool. Well, in terms of horror, I think one of the shockers that ended up being pretty decent, there was one part of it that I was like, ugh, kind of missed the mark for me on that one, but oh well. It didn't ruin the movie, but it just kind of like, all right. But Smile 2 was surprisingly pretty well done.
I keep hearing people say that. They're like, this is way better than I expected it to be.
It really was way better than what I was going in and expecting. That being said, it was also another horror movie that really made it abundantly clear that maybe I have watched too much of this genre.
Yeah, all the tropes.
Yeah. So every scene, it was like, oh, I know, like, so we're gonna do this. So this is probably gonna. Yep, there it is. Okay, It didn't ruin it for me, but I was like, okay, not your average, your average audience member is not gonna have seen so much of this genre that they're gonna be able to tell what it's doing. So if you put yourself in their point of view, the movie would probably scare the crap out of them. And that's what actually kind of made it interesting to me. It was like, man, for those that are not the biggest fans of this genre, they're probably loving this movie because it's actually getting them to like jump and actually feel uncomfortable on scenes. I forget the actress's name, but she really does do a fantastic job in the film. I think it's one of her strongest, if not her strongest role.
Okay.
It was really cool. There was only one part of it that I was like, that didn't go over so well. But they redeem it pretty quick afterwards. But yeah, I thought Smile 2 was shockingly well done. And in a year of so many sequels, it's not just for horror, but sequels in general. I thought it really made a good case for itself.
Okay.
Yeah.
I never saw the original.
You know, I realized
I should.
You should, because Smile 2 starts exactly where the first one ends.
I did know.
But I realized pretty quickly into the second one of like, I forgot everything that happened in the first one.
Yeah.
So I had to revisit the first one and be like, oh, okay, that's right. In terms of sequels, not horror, just sequels in general, I gotta tell you, man, Sonic 3 was fantastic.
Okay.
What a joy. Huge success. Blows Mufasa out of the water in that opening weekend, which rightfully so. Of course, somehow Mufasa kind of has like been attracting more people. I'm not understanding why. Maybe it's because Beyonce is using her evil powers to like bring people in.
Could be.
It could be. But what a cool film. So much fun. If you're a fan of the first two, you'll be a fan of the third one. What I love so much is the success of this franchise, which we just have to touch on, because to me, I'm like, filmmakers, take notes. I think you and I talked about this actually, but it just affirmed it even more with Sonic 3 was Sonic, the first one. They released the first image and trailer.
Right.
And the backlash is so heavy to the design of Sonic that instead of being like, we don't care, this is what you're getting.
Right. Which is what they're doing with Snow White.
Which is what they're doing with Snow White. The filmmakers and the studio take the movie back.
Yeah, they're like, okay, we hear you.
We hear you.
Sorry.
They redo his design to be what the fans want to see. They release and go, is this better?
Yeah.
And unanimously, everyone's like, that's Sonic. Thank you.
Yeah, we will put our pitchforks away. That's acceptable. Thank you.
First Sonic comes out, huge success. Shocker of a success. People are like, how is this movie this good, this fun, this like entertaining? It's not Oscar worthy, but like, it's a fun movie. It makes you feel good. It's entertaining.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sequel comes out and people are like, sequel slump. This one's going to suck. And it's arguably better than the first one. People are like, this is insane. What's going on? This is crazy.
Yeah.
Third one comes out, and I don't think anyone really doubted that it was going to be cool, especially when they were like, Keanu Reeves is going to play Shadow. How cool is this?
Yeah.
And they even give him like John Wick moves in some of his fight scenes. So it's kind of, I thought of you as he's like drop kicking dudes in the face.
Yeah.
But they gave it like a in-depth story. Like, it focused on Shadow. It brings this whole world even more to life, and it's a great film. And I'm laughing the whole time watching the Sonic 3 and just being like, for a franchise that started off with pitchforks
on the wrong foot,
and just so like everyone was against it, and now it's going to go down in Hollywood history as one of the most, if not arguably the most successful video game movie franchise.
Yeah, full franchise.
Like, because they already greenlit the fourth one. This is crazy to me. And so I say, filmmakers, if you're adapting your material,
it helps to not say fuck you to the audience.
It helps to keep your audience in mind because they're the ones paying to fill the seats. So take note.
Especially if you're using a property that has an established fan base. Maybe don't try to do something completely different with it.
It's just, it blows my mind that for a franchise to start off on such a bad note, for it to be completely turned around and be this successful is like, what?
And totally redeemed itself.
Totally redeemed itself. Yeah.
That's amazing.
I just had to bring that out. Sonic 3 was great.
Yeah, I need to get around to seeing it. I'm excited about it still. I guess I should have brought this movie up when you talked about Blink Twice, because I watched another directorial debut this time from Debut. That's the French way to say it. I watched from Anna Kendrick. I watched Woman of the Hour.
Yeah, you did. So did I.
Very cool. I really liked her style. I liked how it looked. Very interesting and creative visuals. But the overall movie and the story of this girl who happens to be adjacent to a serial killer, kidnapper and a serial killer, on a dating show, very, very interesting. A lot of the violence and stuff I thought was very well done, and very good choices throughout were made. So I was really excited about that. I have seen people say, I don't know anything about the actual historical real killer, but I have heard people say that a lot of things about it were very different or not accurately adapted. So if you care about that, maybe that's a problem. But as a standalone movie, I thought it was really, really good.
I agree. I went into it kind of thinking like, Netflix original, directorial debut, nothing against Anna Kendrick, but sometimes this kind of scenario, not the best.
Yeah, maybe not set up for success always.
Right. I really liked it. I really liked Woman of the Hour. I thought the performances were great. I thought the way she shot it, I mean, everything you said was accurate. I think my favorite thing was her decisions on how she depicted the violence. Because the violence, I mean, what this guy did to these women, not good.
Yeah, pretty dreadful.
It's super dreadful, yeah. And I think Anna Kendrick approached it very sincerely, and I think she portrayed it the right way.
Yeah.
Where it's not overly, like, it doesn't really take up too much time. She makes the point and moves on, and I really respected that decision.
And does kind of what we always talk about of, you don't have to show everything because people know what's happening and you already have the picture in your mind, and that's enough. You don't have to draw it out to make it worse.
I think what I really respect is the fact that Anna Kendrick made that decision to do it that way. I mean, this is her movie, and she easily could have shown the full violence to try and, make a point.
Make some point.
Or But instead, I think she did the right decision of how she depicts it, how she showed or lack of show, to show respect to the victims and their families. I thought that was really, really respectful. So I thought Woman of the Hour, I was like, hey, I hope you continue making movies. And I actually hope she continues directing movies on a smaller scale.
Yeah.
I think her vision and just, it felt like this would be the kind of movie Anna Kendrick would make. I'm curious to see what she would do with a full-fledged comedy. But
Yeah.
I agree with you. I thought Woman of the Hour was pretty good.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I watched Saturday Night.
Oh, me
because
too.
I saw you put the actor who plays Chevy Chase
Yeah.
on one of our things, and I was like, well, that's very intriguing. And it's a movie that I had kind of low expectations on, and then I watched it last night, actually, and I really, really liked the whole thing. I thought it was so good overall.
Yeah. So Saturday Night has one major thing against it, which is why it didn't do well.
Okay.
If you did not grow up with Saturday Night
Yes.
Live, if you didn't grow up in a household with parents who grew up with Saturday Night Live, or if you haven't
Right.
really ever watched it or known anything about it, you will not understand
Yeah.
anything about this movie.
Yeah, I think even if you're our age and you grew up with the Adam Sandler and David
Yeah.
Spade and 90s or the early 2000s, Will Ferrell and all of those, you know who Lorne Michaels is, and that's kind of fun to see him young and
Right.
starting out and putting this together. But that's probably it that you will get from this movie.
Yeah.
But I fortunately have seen the first episode of Saturday Night Live. I know all of the huge names. I know George Carlin. I know Andy Kaufman. I know fucking Jim Henson. And to see all of them show up and do this whole thing and just kind of drive home the weird and unique and chaotic thing that the show was. And as they try to piece it together and don't even know if they will air
Right.
as it's like an hour, 2 hours before it's supposed to go on, it just felt like I got a good glimpse into how it actually is.
Mhm.
And it seems like even though it has advanced and is much more established now, you still hear stories about they're always cutting sketches like minutes before air. There's
Right.
still the most stressful possible job you can have in entertainment to do this every week. And so I feel like you get it very, very well.
Yeah, I thought
The music and everything, the movement of the whole thing, it felt kind of like an Aaron Sorkin script where the dialogue and everything is so fast, so clever, so moving constantly.
Yeah, I really liked it. Like you, I've seen the OG Saturday Night Live. Like my dad
Yeah.
owns the first season, and Saturday Night Live was just a weird thing where it was never like my dad never made me watch Saturday Night Live and was like, you
Mhm.
gotta see this. It just kind of seemed to be a thing that existed in the house. And I actually, thinking on it, I think it started really by watching old reruns on Comedy Central of the 90s era with Adam Sandler and crew.
Yeah.
And then because I liked that so much, and because my dad also raised me with like Animal House and the Blues Brothers,
Yeah.
I had to.
I knew Chevy Chase. I knew Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah,
and
I knew
liked
these
him.
guys. Yeah, I really like Saturday Night Live or Saturday Night. I'm not gonna lie, dude. I almost put two names on that list.
Mhm.
The dude that plays Dan Aykroyd is the other guy,
Yeah.
because these two, I was like, they're
Yeah.
it's-
That was one of the main things. I was like, this movie could so easily just feel like a bunch of people doing impressions of these famous
Yeah.
comedians. And I never felt like that. I always felt like this is an accurate portrayal of them.
Yep.
Shout out to the casting of this movie. I think is the most flawless, perfect thing about it. That is what it did the most right, I think, is that almost nobody in the main roles are people that you know or
Mhm.
know the names of or have seen in anything. But they all feel exactly like that character. Even the ones that I do know, the guy who played George Carlin, it took me forever to realize who it was.
Oh, really?
It's the guy, what's his name, Reese from The Americans. I was like, I would never put him in a George Carlin role, but he is a perfect George Carlin.
but he does a great job.
Yeah.
Well, you know, Dylan O'Brien plays Dan Aykroyd, and I never would have figured him or seen him as Dan
No.
Aykroyd. But when he comes walking out, the moment he started talking, I was like, did they just
Yeah.
dub. Like Dan Aykroyd's voice.
That's what I thought. I thought of that with the Billy Crystal character, who I didn't even know was involved with Saturday Night Live back then, and he shows up and has just some small scenes, but I was like, this is a perfectly de-aged Billy Crystal.
Right.
I don't know how you did this.
How is this small budget film from Jason Reitman being this way? This is crazy.
Yeah, the way he talks, his mannerisms and everything. All of them were like that. I thought it was a cool movie, but the biggest thing it has against it is there's such a huge audience that will not understand anything that they're watching. They won't get any of the references. They're not going to catch the little glimpses of the things. Like, no one is really going to get the shark when they push the shark past the scene. Yeah.
You know,
the bees.
They're not going to get really any of it. Which is a shame, because I thought it was a pretty cool depiction of the hour and a half or whatever it is before going live for the first time for like a late night show, competing with Johnny Carson, which was a huge deal back then. Kids, Johnny Carson was the OG Tonight Show host.
And way bigger than any late night show host you've probably ever seen in your life.
He like owned late night. So
yeah, I really liked it. I really liked the way it was done and how it was all just kind of like encapsulated in that short time frame. But it did make me also it left me wanting more, which is always a good thing. But there's a point where Lorne Michaels was like, I've collected all of these unknown comedians, and they live, and then his wife is like, yeah, they live with us and they pee in our sink and all this stuff. Right. I was like, I want to see that story also. Like, I want to see.
Like, let's see.
Why do you have Chevy Chase there? Why do you have John Belushi? The John Belushi character, I felt like perfectly captured. He doesn't have a lot on screen, but he perfectly captured the magnetism and just the huge character and physical presence and acting comedy ability that he had, but also the darkness and tragedy, like as a time bomb in his soul that is just always there. It's so good. It was such a good movie. I've been thinking about it all day since I saw it last night.
It was one, I wanted to text you about it, but I texted my dad instead, or talked to my dad about it instead.
Yeah.
Because he actually watched like live OG Saturday Night Live. So it was really cool getting his perspective on it. He thought it was a pretty cool movie. So that was really neat.
Yeah.
Well, there were a couple movies. No, I'm going to go into this one. I'm gunning for this one, because I think this is probably the one that you might be most curious to hear my thoughts on. Since I'm a pretty vocal fan of the writer and director, and being a fan of horror, and being a fan of this particular OG silent film.
Yeah. I have not seen this yet.
Oh, you haven't?
No, I've been meaning to.
Okay. I'm not going to say a lot then.
I have it downloaded, but I haven't watched it yet.
No, he doesn't, kids. He's.
Oh yeah, definitely don't. That was a joke. In Minecraft, I meant. I have it.
Minecraft.
For legal purposes, that was a joke.
Okay. Yeah. So I have been so excited for Nosferatu all year. Like, it was an early pick of mine, if I remember right, in the draft. Like, this was all for it. All for it.
There's no way a Robert Eggers movie is not going to be good.
Right. It is good.
But
I think it might be his weakest movie.
Okay.
Now, I have to put some, like, let me give you guys some context.
Yeah, if you're talking about like The Witch, the Northman, Lighthouse up here.
Lighthouse is my favorite. Lighthouse
and then
is definitely my favorite.
If this is even still like just below those, but still super high up, I would understand.
It is a very good movie. Obviously it's him. So it's masterful in putting you in this world. It's masterful in the dialogue and how the dialogue is given. The atmosphere of it is unnerving. It is exactly what it needs to be. I think the reason that I have a little hesitation, well, there's two reasons. In terms of the movie itself, I'm not the biggest fan of the portrayal of Count Orlov or Orlok.
Yeah.
His design did not really scare me. It didn't even really creep me out. He kind of just reminded me of like a gross old man who is hunched over. His design didn't do a lot for me. Where like when you look at, the old silent film, or Max Schreck, as Count Orlok, he is scary from the get-go. Like, you see him and you're like, this is gross. He is evil. He is unnerving. He's like, nope, want nothing to do with this guy. This portrayal of him, he's always in the shadow. And when you finally see him, you're like, cool mustache, dude. This isn't the Old West.
No, that's all I'm going to think about when I see it.
I know it is. I'm sorry if I ruined that for you. I'm so sorry.
That's fine. I would not be surprised if he had a mustache.
But, right. So I wasn't the biggest fan of the design of him. I was like, all right, that's cool. But I think the problem was actually the timing that I watched this movie. So, I saw this is going to sound so bad, but we got out of church and my daughter went back to her mom's fairly early, and I had the afternoon free. And instead of like staying home to watch football or do some studying and stuff, I was like, I'm going to go and watch Nosferatu. Let's do that. I was not in the mood, not in the mindset, not in any shape or form, really even wanting to watch a movie like this.
Yeah, that matters.
And I realized it about halfway through the movie, because I was watching it like, why am I just like not interested? I was thinking like, man, you really just not for you right now. Like you are not in the mood to watch this movie. I was like, okay, I'm going to watch this on technicalities then. And that's what I did. And that's why I think it's just it didn't hold up for me on this one.
Yeah.
And then I had to laugh too, because then immediately after it comes out, it was like within a few days, he announces that Werewolf is going to be his next one. And you posted like, Dustin's always talking about, we need a great werewolf movie. And I am always saying that. I did not see Wolfman.
I haven't either.
But I heard it was pretty cool. But I found myself when you posted that, because that's how I found out about his like, I'm going to make a werewolf movie next. And I was like, oh man.
Well, everyone was saying he's going to remake The Labyrinth, and I was like, that sounds like a terrible idea.
See, that's a terrible idea. I don't.
But he said, no, I'm doing this instead, and I'm like, oh, okay.
But I definitely found myself like, ooh, man, but in terms of everything else, Nosferatu is well done. It is a good movie. There were some things that I just like, all right, like, I don't care about the hypersexuality. And I didn't care about hypersexuality even before this whole change in my life, but now I really don't care about it. And Nosferatu has a couple moments in it that I was like, we don't need this. This can be omitted.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. But
yeah, that definitely matters if you are not in the headspace to go into a movie that's, especially one that's so specifically stylized.
Right.
That being in a place to receive it, I think definitely matters.
Yeah. So if you loved it, awesome. If you hated it, I kind of get it.
I would get that too.
And I will say, if you thought his mustache was killer, you can call us on the hotline and be like, Dustin, what is wrong with you? And I will show you
724 boners.
And I will show you pictures of like old Western dudes with the same mustache, and you will laugh and be like, you're right. He's not that scary.
Okay. I'm excited to see this mustache now. Have you watched The Substance yet?
Yes, I watched.
Okay, here we go. I was like, I don't know if I bring this up or if we give you time to watch it, but yeah, okay, if you watched it,
I did.
We'll get into The Substance. People freaking out about it, saying that it's fantastic. I think that it's good. I think that Demi Moore is very good. I think that what's her name? Margaret Qualley,
something like that. Starts with a Q.
I think that she's really good, although she is overdoing the lip bite thing. She's doing it in all of the like real life things. It's like her signature now all of a sudden, and she's doing it too much.
Okay.
It's losing value.
Okay.
It was one thing in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's okay. It's good in this movie also, but don't overplay your hand is what I would say. If you're out there listening, Margaret, I'm sorry I got your name wrong before. But The Substance is cool and interesting and different from just like a body horror movie. I think it's especially interesting that it's getting so much hype from award shows for being a horror movie. That is uncommon, and I think is overall good. And I liked the concept of the activator and the substance itself. I liked how it worked and how it was presented, and the trade-off of this person who is now split and sharing time with herself, and how much of a problem that is. I mostly liked the thing I felt could have been better is I think it did a good job touching on the point of the movie, which is that as you age, especially as women age, they still have value, but it never does anything to say what that value is. And the character herself, Demi Moore's character, kind of self-sabotages in the sense that she is the problem. It's not that the system is the problem or that Hollywood and their desire for younger, more beautiful people is the problem. She herself is also the problem, which I did like. I think that it does a good job of not like pointing fingers and saying like, even though Dennis Quaid's character is definitely very much like a gross person, he's not like a Harvey Weinstein who's trying to like bang the young talent. He's just like, you're beautiful, I'll give you all of the success, which is fine. I feel like Demi Moore's character is much more of like the problem in overall, which I liked, and I liked the story, and I liked how it was, and I liked the practical effects. I thought that the monster or the things that happen, the blood that happens, the body horror parts were all pretty well done. So overall, I liked it. I wouldn't say it's the best or super duper unique, but I thought the story was interesting and I liked how it went.
Super duper unique.
Yeah.
You know what one of my first thoughts when it started playing was, and I'm kind of shocked that you're actually praising it as much as you are. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, I wonder if Jake hated every frame of this movie.
Interesting.
Because maybe hate isn't the right word, but I was like, I wonder if Jake is like being hypercritical on this movie. I wouldn't fault you for it, because the first thought I had when it started, first I was like, is there something wrong with the audio? Is it supposed to be silent when the like egg splits? But then it goes into her workout show, and I was like, okay, it's just quiet beginning. I almost feel like movies that do that need to start off with like a quick little like, it's silent, it's okay, and then move on.
Especially when it's silent, like through the production logos and then into the movie, and you're like, what's happening?
Something wrong?
Am I deaf?
Yeah, right. Like, oh, I can
Did it happen?
Yeah. So anyways, first shots come up. She does her workout show, and I was like, okay, this put me back in like seeing the Suzanne Summers workout videos that like our moms or the moms of our generations watched and did in the living room.
Totally.
But then she walks in the hall, and this is like 2 minutes into the movie, which is why I say like first thought. And immediately I was like, are they ripping off of The Shining?
Yeah.
The style of carpet, the red walls, the bathroom.
Yeah, the bathroom in particular.
Like, it was, I'm not kidding, it was really distracting for me because I just kept thinking like, okay, like maybe you're just showing your respect for The Shining, which I get. And then Dennis Quaid comes in and he's like peeing, and they do that like fishbowl lens look of him on the phone while he's peeing, and that made me laugh. I was like, oh, so he's gross. Like, he's a bad character. You get that right out the gate. Like,
they're very not subtle about it.
Right. But that was probably my biggest issue with this movie, is it ended up being 2.5 hours of just trying to recreate shots from The Shining and shots from like how Darren Aronofsky shoots his films.
That's exactly what I thought. I was like, this is exactly like...
It was like
Darren
Requiem for...
especially Requiem for a Dream or Black Swan or any of those.
It was Aronofsky and Stanley Kubrick, and they were like, I've only ever watched The Shining and Requiem and Black Swan, and that's what I made.
Yeah.
I had a problem with that. It wasn't done poorly. In fact, it was done really well because people already shot it for you.
Right. It's one thing to have an homage, and it's another thing to just rip it off because it worked already.
So blatant.
All of the editing through the entire movie is Requiem.
Yeah, the whole movie, everything about it, and even to the point of like an infected body part where you're putting needles in. There's even an emphasis on it. That bothered me so much because I was like,
I totally get that.
This is not unique at all. I was like, you're a director. Make this your movie. It's one thing to be like, I really respect these filmmakers, so I'm going to throw a little Easter egg and see the diehard fans catch it. It would have been fine with just that opening bathroom scene and then left it there. It would have been perfect.
Like, you can do that once in order to kind of get added value, in the sense that most of the audience probably will instantly connect a lot of extra feelings and thoughts to your movie. If you're like, I want you to think about this, I will show you something that's like that, and then you bring that into the movie with you. You don't have to do it over and over the whole time.
Over and over again. I was like, all right, this is ridiculous. Some of the practical effects were really cool. Like, I will give you that. Some of the practical effects were really cool. The movie as a whole, I don't get it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say, I don't get the hype on this one,
I think the end especially could have been much better.
Oh, the ending was terrible.
Yeah. The ending, I wish that it had, I don't know,
like
landed better than it did.
And maybe I think because I kind of checked out during the last like third of the film, because I was like, all right, so obviously this and this is probably going to be how we go now. And then I was wrong on like one part, and I was bummed that I was wrong, not because I wanted to be right, but because it was like, that would have been
made more sense. Yeah.
I don't know. Demi Moore did a great job in it. I'm not going to fault her. I'm not going to fault the cast.
I think Demi Moore's more, I don't know, quieter personal moments were a lot better. That's why one of the reasons that I think I liked her as a performer as one of the better performances this year, particularly when she's like getting ready to go on the date and then she just can't look good enough to feel pulled together and can't pull it together, even though there's a guy who's really excited to see her, doesn't really care what she looks like and all this stuff. She's just so in her own insecurity. I like that that stood out particularly well for me. But that was one of the few unique like story points of the movie that didn't borrow so much from so many other things.
I did have to laugh because like right before, well, not right before, it was a couple days ago. I'm assuming you guys just watched it very recently.
Pretty much, yeah, this last week or so.
And I only know that because your wife posted, how'd she word it, where it was like, when you watch something and you just think to yourself, what did I just watch? Or it was worded something like that. And I was like, oh no. Like I could hear Christy's tone. It was like, she probably said it in a like, why did we watch this kind of thing?
She didn't hate it. She thought it was interesting, but she also felt like the ending could have been much better. She didn't know anything about it going into it. She was like, this looks interesting. Let's watch this. I was like, okay. Because I knew much more about it.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I don't get the hype on this one. I really don't. I learned something this year. 2024, the movies that I really connected with, the movies that I thought were like, this is great, good job, were all the movies that didn't care about making a point. They didn't care about agendas. They cared about, let us tell you an entertaining story. Now, some are like on extreme ends, right? Terrifier 3, some people would tell me like, Dustin, that movie was not fun. And I would argue, I'd be like, as a horror fan, it was a friggin' blast. But again, I respect that because he made it his own. He stuck to his guns and delivered a product that kind of shook Hollywood up a little bit. Like this unrated...
Yeah, releasing an unrated movie in theaters is a big deal.
Huge deal.
And then to have it beat all of the other movies that came out that week was pretty crazy.
Like, it just unreal. But the movies that I really loved, that I thought the year of 2024 really did the best, were the movies that were just focused on, let's entertain our audiences for 2 hours and just leave it there. Those were the best movies. And honestly, we really only got a small handful of that. Everything else was either too focused on trying to be too much, or pointless sequels, or artsy indie films that just like, is this what we're reducing to? Like, we want cheaper movies because they can be great, but let's not go into the artsy side of things. Like, those don't tend to be that great. I'm looking at you. I saw the TV glow. So
yeah, style over substance.
Yeah,
what you're talking about.
Yeah. I had to laugh at that because I was like, man, it still stands. I said it many times over the course of the year, and it really confirmed it for me at the end of the year, where I was like, dude, my favorite movie of last year was The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. It was that and The Fall Guy. Like, those are the best movies of the year, in my opinion. Like, they were the most enjoyable films because they were exactly what they needed to be.
Yeah, right.
And it sucks that no one went and saw them in the theater.
Yeah. Well, then they can find it in the future.
That's true.
At least it exists. That's good. I only have one more.
Yeah,
do you
go
have
ahead.
More? Or you got...
I mean, we could probably go on for like 200 movies that we both tried to cram in.
That's probably true. I watched A Real Pain.
I haven't watched this yet, but I've wanted to watch it.
Jesse Eisenberg, written and directed. It's his second movie, and I think it's whatever the opposite of a sophomore slump is, because I think his first movie, the one with Finn Wolfhard and Julianne Moore, I never saw it, but it seemed like everybody said, why does this movie exist? Yeah, what is it called? It has a funny name, a long name. Hold on, let me look it up. I can actually be prepared and tell you something of value here. It's called, no, not actor. I want writer, director. When You Finish Saving the World from 2022. It has a 5.6 on IMDb.
Finish Saving the World? I've never even heard of this thing.
Finn Wolfhard. I don't know if I said his name correctly. Finn Wolfhard and Julianne Moore. Jesse Eisenberg wrote and directed it. It was his first movie. Apparently it's mid or not good in that range. I haven't seen it. I don't know. But A Real Pain, his second movie, is whatever the opposite of a sophomore slump is, because it's really good.
Okay.
And I think Kieran Culkin just came out and said that his manager said, you could do it if you want. I don't think it's going to be good. It's going to be one that you do for you. It's not going to go anywhere. And now he's nominated for an Oscar and a Golden Globe and all this other stuff, and everybody's loving it. So it's good. It's about they play cousins, I think, and they go to Poland. They're Jews. They're both Jews. They go to Poland because their grandma was from Poland and was in a concentration camp. And the thing I love about it is it really doesn't focus on the Jewish World War II connection.
Okay.
This top is a conversation. They go on some tours. They're just kind of like tourists in Poland who happen to go to some Jewish place, and they talk a little bit about like wanting to see what that was like and stuff.
Okay.
Or guilt being Jews in first class on a train when they're like on this World War II thing. But all of the stuff when he could dwell on it, Jesse Eisenberg as the director could dwell on those moments, he just kind of like skips through and doesn't really focus on their time at the concentration camps and stuff. It's not really about that.
Okay.
What it's really about is their relationship and how they hadn't really seen each other in a while, and there's like a reason that they're getting together, and they're trying to kind of reconnect. And Jesse Eisenberg has like a family now and a kid and a wife, and they just are not really in the same place, but they want to reconnect. And Kieran Culkin does an amazing job acting in it as this guy who's like super friendly and super easy to make friends, and knows everything about everybody because they just open up to him. And Jesse Eisenberg is classic Jesse Eisenberg, where he's kind of just awkward and dorky and not really. He's the opposite, basically. And they play off each other really, really well. And I liked the story and kind of what the point of it actually ends up being. You think it's going to be about Jews in Poland, but it's really not. It's really about them and when you don't know someone's going through something and how they're dealing with it and all this stuff. So I liked it quite a bit.
Okay. I'm not going to
I don't know why he's nominated for a supporting actor, because he's not. This is not a supporting role at all.
It's so weird. This movie's been kind of a conundrum to me. I've really wanted to see it. I've been a fan of Jesse Eisenberg's for a long time now, which is kind of weird to think about. And I think it's because my brain is still, we have the millennial brain where our brains are like permanently stuck in, 10 years
2000
behind.
wasn't that long ago.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird to know, wow, I've been watching Jesse Eisenberg, I think, all his career.
Zombieland was 2009. That's the first one I can think of that he was in.
So weird. Well, I think mine was
But it was Social Network. Social Network is 2010. So yeah.
When was
Adventureland?
Yeah, that was like 2009.
2009. Yeah, it was kind of his breakout year, 2009, 2010.
Okay. So anyways, I've been watching him for a long time, and I was excited for this movie. I am excited for this movie, but I found myself with the slightest hesitation because, and you said it, he's the same character. It's Jesse Eisenberg. He's playing Jesse Eisenberg.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been my hesitation on watching it, man. I'm not going to lie. I've been like, dude, you've been in this, like, the most different role you've given us was when you played Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
And I know I'm in the minority here, but I'm like, it was refreshing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I totally get that. And I think you could say, I know you haven't seen Succession, but I think Kieran Culkin is basically a very similar character as well, where you could say he's playing himself also.
Yeah.
Okay. But they work so well together as maybe the best possible reason for them to be those things as being in this movie, maybe.
I still really want to watch it. It's on I need to watch it. Especially since I'm a big fan of relational films where it focuses on, hey, these two people are going to have like something meaningful happen between them. It's probably why I'm such a big fan of planes, trains, and automobiles, which this movie kind of strikes me as like, I don't want to say like inspired by or whatever, but to me, it looks like it is within that kind of context. And that's exciting for me.
I would not disagree with that. And I think there are actually similar beats of connection and growth that you could draw between the two.
Okay. That's good to hear.
That's accurate. Yeah.
Now, I left it so far away and now feel dumb. I can see the spine. It's too far.
Okay.
I got really excited. This was like a little while back. I happened to be walking through one of we have a store down here called Half Price Books, so everything's literally like it's cheap stuff. But they got movies, books, games, nerdy junk and all that. Anyways, I'm looking at the movies because I'm a physical copy guy. Sorry for you digital people when you lose all of yours and I have mine. And I came across a movie that I was like, oh man, I'm totally going to have this. This is amazing. You know what? Screw it. I'll be right back.
Okay.
I got it.
Play some music.
You'll appreciate this, Jake.
A few moments later.
You ever come across something where you're like, well, that's just something that has to happen because not many people are going to have this.
Yeah.
Right.
And you don't know when you'll see it again.
If ever. And I don't feel like spending an exorbitant amount of money on his website or online to try and get a copy. But dude, how glorious is the physical copy of The Room?
As soon as you said his website, I was like, it has to be The Room.
The Room.
The Room on DVD.
Dude, it's glorious. I saw this. I just started laughing in the store and was like, yep, that one's coming home.
I'm kind of surprised you didn't already have it, to be honest.
Me too. But now I do. And that's amazing. It is a point of like, yes.
The only downside of not getting it on his website is you can't get any underwear because he also has.
That's true. I
boxer
did
briefs.
not get underwear. But this the physical media thing made me laugh too, because you know how on our break they released the trailer for 28 Years Later.
Yes.
And people are like, oh my gosh, we have to watch the first one again. And the world was like, oh my gosh, it's not streaming anywhere and you can't get the copies anymore. Oh,
yeah,
no.
they're not printing new DVDs or Blu-rays of that movie anymore. It's out of print.
I just laughed because it's sitting right there.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, you poor people. I can watch it whenever I want. It's right there.
Yeah. I wonder how expensive used copies are for that reason.
I don't know.
Actually, I think I saw that they did start.
Well, I think they're going to
printing it since then.
Yeah, I think it's on streaming now too.
Okay. Probably with the promotion they had to sell the rights to somebody.
Holy cow. All right. So on Amazon, just the DVD is $29.95.
Jeez.
You can get the double feature for $79.99.
Oh my God.
They have another copy of just the DVD full screen edition for $43.86.
Okay, don't buy full screen editions of things. That sucks.
So just in case you thought I was lying.
That's terrible. Wow.
I bought that when I worked at the video stores, and I think I paid like $5 for it. So, man, physical media is the way.
Somebody posted online that it was selling for $1,000 at one point.
Oh my gosh!
Or someone had it listed. Someone had it listed for $1,000. Doesn't mean anybody.
Doesn't mean it actually sold for $1,000.
People thought it was rare enough that they're like, "I'll try selling
now."
this.
But this brings me to a little piece of like movie interesting. I don't know if it's news. It kind of is, or what, but don't worry, it ties.
Yeah.
Physical media. I read this article where it said physical media for like DVDs and Blu-rays might see a comeback. In fact, it probably will see a comeback soon because there's been a lot of like let down with the streaming.
Yeah. 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 And people are finding things that they remember being in this movie isn't in the movie anymore when they stream it.
Right.
And they start complaining and they're like, where is this? And they're
As,
like, oh, sorry, we cut that out. We'll put it back.
Right. As they should complain. Like, what are you doing messing with this? The problem, though, is that it's probably going to take the same route as like vinyl, when vinyl really made a big comeback, where people are going to see the same problem with it, where it's like it becomes expensive because now it's viewed as a collector's thing instead of just
right.
The
mass market thing.
Yeah. So I'm excited that it might come back, and it probably will have a comeback, but I'm bummed at the same time that because people's laziness, that they're going to take something great that has been for us since the 80s
that we took for granted.
And but in the meantime, I just keep waiting. I'm like, I can't wait to hear what next movie people are going to complain about not being able to find, that I'll be able to be like, oh.
Yeah. There's so many movies that are like, you can't stream them anywhere. You can't even buy them online. The Fall is one of those that was out there for a long time, which is a really cool, really interesting looking movie. You just can't find it, can't stream it. It's out. It's like it doesn't exist, but it does. It was made and it has DVDs out there.
I also found Idle Hands, which...
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
With Devin Sawa.
Yep. And that's another movie that's like out of print, and came across a copy of that for, I think I got it for like $3.
They're remaking it, I think.
I could see that.
I just saw a remake announcement like a couple months ago.
I could see that.
Yeah.
So unnecessary, because the first one was like purposefully so stupid.
Right.
Why remake it? But oh well. Speaking of not remakes, but if we're bringing up movie news with horror films.
Okay.
So you and I cannot be the only people kind of burned out on the overabundance of announcements that movies feel they have to make in revealing too much that would be so much better left unsaid.
Bro, the freaking, not to change the topic from what you're talking about, but it is what you're talking about. When they did the Superman trailer teaser, they did the announcement of the teaser the day before, which showed a lot. And then they showed the teaser trailer, which is a full, 2-minute trailer. That shows everything. Probably shows too much in the teaser. I can't imagine what they're going to show in the actual trailer.
During the Super Bowl? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to say the Superman trailer, it looks better than I expected. I am part of the big group that during that TV spot that they released with that flying shot that I was like,
yeah,
that looks weird. Something about it just, it looks weird.
Everybody was freaking out about the super dog scene. I just don't love the CGI of it. Like how the dog is obviously not real.
I've never been like a big crypto guy, so crypto being a part of it is kind of okay.
Yeah.
That's like the least cool thing in my book to what they could do with this, but all right.
Yeah.
But no, so I'm sure people have seen. If you haven't seen, maybe I shouldn't say. Maybe I should. But
I mean, it's in the promotional material. You can't be spoiling much.
True, because it's all over and all over the internet, all over social media. If you're a fan of anything movies online, you've seen it. Stupid Hollywood took what would have been one of the greatest reveals for the Scream franchise fan base.
Yeah.
And ruined what would have been such a triumphant moment.
Right. That feels like something that you should definitely hide and protect and not let get out of the set that you're having this character return.
I was like, I didn't think it was real at first, and then it was everywhere, and I was just like, oh, man.
Yeah. I thought it was terrible that they announced who was playing Sydney's husband, and there had been so much speculation in the fourth one that she married Patrick Dempsey's character from the third one.
Yeah.
Because his name was also Mark, I think. And they're like, no, it's this other guy named Mark. And they're like, oh, well, that kind of sucks. We were all excited.
Yeah, fans were like, hey, we're excited for Joel McHale to be in a film. But that's not who Sydney probably should have ended up with. Like, come on. That would have been cool too. But no.
Yeah.
Stupid Hollywood. Stupid. Yeah, I was really bummed about that. You brought it up earlier, dude. It made me laugh. So I am actually kind of excited for the new Jurassic Park movie.
Okay. There's both fingers up in the air saying, please do not say anything yet.
I'm excited because they're dropping the city aspect and they're going back to like the island or an island, which, makes the danger a little more formidable in my opinion.
Yeah. On their animals' turf, at least.
David Koepp also has said that he really went back to Crichton's original source and was like, I really want to get back to the spirit of this story. And he even said that they put a part from the book into this movie and everyone was like, oh, so the T-Rex is going to be swimming. I'm not sure if that's the scene. I think it is, but we'll find out. The only thing that I was like, wait, what? Was the same thing that the whole world unanimously went, huh? What's with the Rancor on this island?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, I didn't think it was real. I thought my phone glitched or something when it showed.
Rancor is a great way to put it.
And then I saw the stills and I was like, I don't understand this. And you said it perfect earlier where it was like, we don't need to keep trying to outdo everything.
Yeah. It feels very much like what do they call it? The Indominus Rex or something from the Jurassic World.
Yeah.
The first one, where it's like, it's so much bigger than any dinosaur you've ever seen before. And now they're like, now it's a mutant dinosaur that's so much bigger than that one.
Dino. Like, all right.
The point of a dinosaur is that it's already way bigger than a person.
It's kind of already scary in its own right. All right. Yeah, the mutant thing, I'm just kind of like, you know what they should do? Because apparently this is the start of a new trilogy.
Okay.
They should show animals from like how cool would it be to see, the next part of whatever instead of just sticking with, this is going to sound bad, but this
history time frames, like
kind of like
woolly mammoths.
How cool would it be if
saber-toothed tigers?
Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool.
That would be cool, especially since as children of the 90s, didn't they make toys? Wasn't that
Jurassic Park toys?
I thought they did. I could have sworn that I saw like a saber-toothed tiger Jurassic Park toy at one point. Or maybe I'm just thinking of cool saber-toothed tiger toys.
Maybe you're thinking of Dino Riders. Had like one season of a TV show, but a bunch of cool toys where these people rode dinosaurs and saber-toothed tigers and they had lasers attached to them.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
There's maybe not. That was from some game. Never mind.
That's from a TV. Oh, wait.
Smile
That's
it out.
weird.
I think you might be looking at what I'm looking at. That's like a
Like,
3D rendering of a video game or something.
no, I'm looking at Jurassic Park toys. But this
Oh.
is interesting. Maybe this is what I was mixing up. There's like this weird... It's a mutant dinosaur.
Perfect. Oh, interesting. Yeah. That is weird looking.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Oh, yeah, I see it right here. Alright. Could be.
That would be cool. Like, instead of going mutant style, why don't you just show us other
Yeah.
prehistoric animals?
Right.
That's got to be what I was
There's
thinking of, because that's the only
so many different kinds out there that we haven't seen yet.
Right.
We don't need a blue trained velociraptor. Just saying. I never cared about that plot point.
We don't need a we don't need a Star Wars inspired dinosaur.
Yeah. Yeah, I am excited that Gareth Evans is doing it. I think that he does large scale action well. I like Godzilla 2014. I like Star Wars Rogue One. But it might be too much Godzilla and not enough Jurassic Park, which could be a problem.
It could. It really could. Like, I agree with you. Yeah, that's the toy I was thinking of. Sorry, I was still like, no, that's it.
I'm glad you found it. That's a nice closure. Speaking of trailers, did you see the Happy Gilmore 2 trailer?
The teaser trailer?
Yeah.
Yes.
Whatever they've released so far. Are you excited?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, me too.
Yes, I am.
It should be a good time.
My favorite part of it, I knew it was coming, but my favorite part of it was when him and Shooter see each other again. I was just like, I hope it turns into two old men that have no reason to be on a golf course. And I hope they make another stupid bet.
Yeah.
And I hope they both just fail at golf so terribly.
Yeah. I'm really digging, I forget his name, but he's Shooter McGavin on Instagram or Twitter or whatever, and he just keeps playing the heel to Adam Sandler's Happy Gilmore. He's constantly egging him on and talking shit. It's so funny.
Yeah, I am excited for it. I'm really hoping, like, I'm trying not to have a high expectation,
Yeah.
and I'm really hoping that it's just fun. I hope they don't try to do too much. If there's one thing I'm a little worried about, it's that the movie's going to turn into like a big cameo fest, which I don't think it needs to be.
Yeah.
The shot of
There's
Travis
some
Kelce
weird actors in it. Yeah.
made me kind of roll my eyes, but that's also because, I hate the Chiefs. So,
Who doesn't?
but I am excited for Happy Gilmore 2. I really hope they do it well.
Speaking of one of the most important sequel announcements I think I've ever seen, this randomly came up on my news feed. Did you know they're making a Coherence sequel?
What?
Yes.
What?
So it's unclear. Everything is under wraps, but it's unclear if it's a sequel, a prequel, or some different story entirely. But James Ward Bierkit, who did Coherence, which you should know by now, we love,
He's amazing.
has said that they're making another movie. He's writing and directing it. It was funny. So in a statement with Deadline on the deciding to do it, he had explained that he'd been inundated with pitches for sequels and offers and remakes ever since the film came out, but nothing ever inspired him until Kate Andrews sent him an email with 2 words that unlocked the box. So he says either Kate's a genius or she's from a parallel reality where Alex and I already wrote this and she's pitching us our own movie. Because she said something to him that made him just realize we have to do this. And I'm very, very excited about that. It's like one of the most, I would have never in a million years thought I would hear that they're making a Coherent sequel. And I'm so excited for it.
Yeah.
It's very exciting.
Like, that movie is still, I've had a couple people at work bring it up now, and I'm like, yes, don't you dare say anything about it and ruin it for others. But
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
Man,
Oh, Coherence is so good.
it's so good. I want to know what 2 words unlocked the box.
I know. I hope someone asks him that question when it comes out, when he can finally like reveal it,
Oh my gosh.
or it's on like director commentary or something.
Oh, right. 2 words.
You're gonna go crazy trying to figure it out.
Probably. You know what announcement I keep
What?
holding hope that they're going to make?
What?
Back to my they haven't made this yet, but the movie has gained a lot of traction, and I know you and I probably don't have anything to do with that traction, but I like to think we did.
Okay.
I keep holding out that The Empty Man is going to get a physical release because it has like, I think I see something pop up about it at least once a week. Of like, this movie that no one heard of. Lots of success on streaming, and some of these stream services are like, yeah, we should probably have a physical. So I'm like,
yeah, that would be very cool.
Hasn't happened, but I can hope.
It sounds like there's more and more hope that a Community movie will happen. It sounds like the script is done, and they're just trying to schedule everybody in the same room.
Are they trying to get Donald Glover to actually agree to be?
They did say, I think that he's agreed and everybody's on board. Well, except for Chevy Chase, probably. But
that makes sense.
Yeah. But I think that they've said that we have to have everybody on set. We can't do the like separate story thing that they did towards the end of Donald Glover's time on it.
Yep.
And so for that reason, scheduling everybody at the same time is difficult.
You know, you do know that the Community movie has to be like pure nostalgia. It has to be like nothing new. It has to be member berries. It has
to be the end. Like they can't do anything else Community after that because that's always been 6 seasons in a movie. They fought for the 6th season, and that will just be the cherry on top. It is the movie.
Man, you know how it needs to end? Because I've always thought it's how the series should have ended.
Okay,
with a much better final paintball match.
Oh yeah, probably at graduation, I would imagine.
Yeah, it has to.
Yeah, paintball was definitely a highlight. I think it has to be paintball too. That's a good point.
It has to be a paintball match, and I think Abed has to win.
Okay, it's very specific, but yeah, I dig it.
Well, obviously the choice would be to have Jeff win because it's Jeff.
Yeah.
Or the Dean would have to
come
back, and the Dean would have to end up being like... But the Dean's not smart enough to pull it off, so that wouldn't work.
I hope that nobody listening has ever seen Community and cares what they're talking about.
Fair point. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry.
If you haven't, Community is a good show worth watching.
Community's so good. Oh my gosh. The amount of background jokes that show is chock full of makes the show worth it by itself, but the show itself is great.
One of the smartest comedies that it doesn't get the praise it deserves, even though it's gotten a good amount of fan base for sure.
Good. They should make another fort. How awesome would another pillow fort?
The forts were great. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. I can't imagine having the pressure of writing that movie. That would be very difficult.
There's almost too much. There's almost too much.
Yeah. I don't think we ever talked about Robert Downey Jr. being Dr. Doom.
Oh yeah, that was made while we were on our hiatus.
Yeah. I think it was one of the first announcements, and I was like, I guess I can't ask Dustin about this because we're not recording for a long time.
Yeah.
Does that make any sort of sense to you?
No.
I mean, neither. Like, I don't know why you would take the foundation stone of your universe and just put him in a new role that nobody's seen before.
But this is why I think they're actually doing it. Now, when they made the announcement, they were like, there's only one guy that could do this, because they want to dive into like the heart of the character. And then it was Robert Downey Jr. And a lot of people cheered and were like, this is amazing. And then everybody else was like, what? Why? You can't have Tony Stark be Dr. Doom. This doesn't make sense. But here's why I think they're bringing him in, or why they brought him in, because he's obviously filmed his stuff. I think Marvel knew that it was in such a bad spot. To the point. No, not to the point, because the time. Anyways, I think Marvel knew they were screwed. I think even after the success of Deadpool and Wolverine, I think they were still in a place of what are we going to do? Because even one of my favorite things about Deadpool and Wolverine was it didn't care about the MCU. Being a part of the MCU was just a joke. It was a throwaway. Best decision that movie made.
Yeah, exactly.
So they couldn't rely on that to be it saved the MCU. I think it saved superhero movies in general. But anyways, Marvel itself, the MCU itself, I think they were probably all in a board meeting just freaking out, figuring people hate our shows, but we're going to keep making them.
Yeah.
People aren't liking our movies. They've forgotten about them. I still forget that Eternals was a movie that they released.
Yeah, me too.
I think they needed something that would force audiences back into the theater, whether they were excited or just to see why. And I think casting Robert Downey Jr. was the reason. I bet
it does have that mystery.
Yeah, I bet his paycheck for this role is
ungodly.
The dumbest paycheck in Hollywood history.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I think what they should have done, because Dr. Doom wears a mask, they should have cast an unknown and performance speak for itself, and then let the guy show his face and people be like, who was this guy?
Right.
That's what they should have done.
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
I think that would have been so much better, so much cooler. I'll probably still like it because it's Dr. Doom on screen. And the new Fantastic Four, it looks fun. I think it'll be decent.
I think it has a potential to kind of course correct because people have definitely lost interest.
Yeah. And I think it's smart to course correct with Fantastic Four. Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Even though they failed 3 times before.
It'll be interesting to see what Marvel's future looks like. But in news that I am most excited about, I think I'm more excited about this little piece of news than most of the movie news that's come out. And it's definitely the nostalgia part of me, but that's fine. Malcolm in the Middle is coming back.
Yeah.
OG cast. How awesome is that, kids?
That's really crazy. Really, really crazy.
So crazy. Now, kids, Malcolm in the Middle was this fantastic slapstick, stupid comedy in the early 2000s about a family who are not geniuses, but their middle son is an actual genius. And for you Breaking Bad fans, you got to watch Bryan Cranston and my personal favorite performance of his as the dad. Yeah. I think Malcolm in the Middle coming back is my favorite piece of news.
Okay.
Because
very wholesome.
Because I think it's the kind of entertainment we need. And before people roll their eyes. Thought that before my life changed. I have definitely been retracing nostalgic TV show. I've been watching some old TGIF slotted shows, rewatch Step by Step, Family Matters. And I'm like, these shows are so much better than almost everything on TV right now, at least for me, because I'm like, they're entertaining, they're fun, they're edifying, but they're enjoyable. Like, you
Right.
don't have to, there's no stress to them, like, at all.
Right. Yeah. And things feel cynical a lot nowadays,
Yeah.
times that I don't feel like you had as much back then. It seems like
You really didn't.
it was just more fun or family oriented or whatever.
Yeah. Now, my favorite, and I've been excited to share this with you.
Mm-hmm.
So Netflix put Home Improvement on, and I was like,
Yeah.
yes. Like, I'm totally going to watch Home Improvement.
Yeah.
I sat my daughter down to watch it. So I was like, all right, dude, you gotta see the show I grew up watching. It's potentially, you could argue,
Mhm.
it's like one of the all-time great shows.
Yeah.
And
It's a cornerstone for sure.
it really is. So she was like, all right, Dad, whatever, right? Teenage girl judging her dad's nostalgia.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, she looked at me 6 episodes later and was like, I love this show. This show is amazing. I was like, I told you, to the point where she was trying to do Tim Allen's grunts, and then now she's got me walking around trying to do them too.
Nice.
But that, to me, I was like, that's a testament of how good
Right.
shows like
Transcends
this. And
generations.
yeah, because my 15-year-old daughter is watching the show and she's like, this is great.
Yeah. Like 30 years after it came out or
Right.
something.
So I'm like, I think we need more stuff like this. I think this should be, so Malcolm in the Middle coming back, I hope that they go back to their formula and just pick up where they left off. I think that'd be the best way to do it. And it could be the exact kind of like TV boost that I think we kind of need. So
Yeah. Kind of like how they did Full House.
Right.
Full House. It's like, it's the same thing, even though
Yeah.
it doesn't feel like how you would do a show nowadays. It doesn't have to. It can be what it was before, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really cool showing my daughter some of this stuff, like those old shows when they filmed in front of an audience and
Mhm.
her realizing like, oh, those laughs that we're hearing, those aren't like pumped in. They're
Track.
not, it's not a
Yeah.
track. Like, they have to perform in front of people. That's a feat by itself.
Yeah.
But
For sure. You know what else is coming back? Potentially Blockbuster. So the owner of Blockbuster submitted a trademark application to repurpose the brand for nightclubs, restaurants, and amusement attractions. So they could signal a possible revival of the movie rental, like, aesthetic or feeling or experience as a, like, entertainment venue that you could go and enjoy that again in some form.
I think
in the
that would be
future.
cool. I think that'd be neat. That could be
It
fun.
makes me feel old because it sounds like a 50s diner. You
Oh
know?
my gosh.
With like greasers and stuff.
You
'cause
just said
people
that, and you
were-
know what went in my mind was Jackrabbit Slims from Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction. Yeah, exactly. It's like people that were around back then will just want to relive what it was like.
Yeah.
That's where we're at now.
Man.
I took away all your excitement. You're like, yeah, that sounds cool. Oh, no, that doesn't sound cool.
Man. We're gonna have costumes in a restaurant. Man.
Yeah, probably.
I think,
It'll be like Beetlejuice.
that could still be fun. That could still be fun. That could still be like an enjoyable experience. I don't know how you would really pull it off, but that could be a fun experience. Oh, actually, I think I just realized how you could pull it off. I almost don't want to say it because it's kind of cool. Patent pending.
As soon as you acquire the trademark for
Oh,
Blockbuster.
true. How cool would it be if they like turned it into a franchise, like a small franchise, like a small indie 4, 5 screen
Mm.
theater,
Mhm.
but your patrons would come in. Like, you could almost treat it like like you have to reserve. So you would have to rent a screen. So you rent a screen, and when you show up, you walk through the aisles of physical copies, and you get the experience of like renting your movie. You watch it on a big screen. You get your snacks. Like, you could set it up like the counter that Blockbuster had. You could set it up.
Yeah.
That could be fun.
That way you don't have to actually own a VHS player or DVD player or whatever, because a lot of people don't anymore.
Right.
And you could still have the experience without having the stuff that you'll use once in a while.
True.
That'd be cool.
Because at this point, you wouldn't be paying for like the movie itself. You'd be paying for the experience of walking into a Blockbuster and watching the movie. But I think the selling point on that would be, it wouldn't necessarily be new releases. You'd be picking older films.
For sure.
Man, that'd be cool to like, everyone would have the dual disc, right? The cover that's empty, and then the
the actual rentable one behind it. Unless somebody else had already checked it out.
Unless somebody checked it out.
It's just part of the experience.
But that would be part of the experience. Yeah. Like, that would be part of the experience.
Like, I'll have to come back next week and see if it's there.
And you wouldn't, I mean, renting the screen out, it would probably get kind of expensive. So I don't know how you would do that.
Yeah, I don't know how you do a screen. You'd have to have everybody in that room like want to watch that movie. Maybe it's more of like a personal TV, or you'll have small rooms with like a couch or two, and then you could bring your friends. Max of like, like we're trying to solve every problem of this thing that we're never going to do.
Right.
But it's still a cool idea.
You know, it's funny saying all this though. You know what my brain keeps trying to be like, or you could like ... It's literally, it just keeps going back to like, or you could just rent the movie and watch it at home.
Yeah.
Like,
kind of like the good old days.
It's like,
kind of like the thing you're trying to recreate. Maybe you could just do it for real.
Right. Like, instead of hypothetical, why don't you just do it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's that too.
There is that. Oh, man.
Speaking of just doing the original thing, this is a weird thing that popped up. So first of all, I saw Paul Hogan, which everybody knows as Crocodile Dundee, Mick Dundee from Australia. He's 85 years old now and looks very old. I haven't seen him in 40 years, 30 years.
Yeah.
But he was at the premiere of the Crocodile Dundee Encore cut. They recut Crocodile Dundee.
Why?
4K restoration.
Okay.
Atmos soundtrack.
Okay.
But the big problem is that they have removed some of the original footage because some of it was removed for sensitivities, some of it was removed for racist overtones. But audiences are mostly complaining that the best line of the movie was removed.
Not the knife.
I'm sure you know which one.
Not the knife.
Yes.
No.
That's not a knife. This is a knife.
They took that. That's like,
yeah.
Isn't that line like
think,
on his Star of Fame or whatever? Like,
Probably. That's the only one anybody knows.
Right.
As great as Crocodile Dundee is, that's the one that
that's what
knows.
Everybody remembers. Why would you take that out?
I think because he's from Australia and only knows Aborigines as African Americans, I think that there's a lot of like confusion, funny moments in the movie where it confuses some dude on the street, whether he's in a gang or not, as by some slang Australian Aboriginal, are you part of this tribe, that kind of stuff. I think maybe that's adjacent or related to that.
That's so goofy. Now I want to...
Because I remember the guy with the switchblade. I'm pretty sure he was...
Now I want to go and rewatch the original cut, not the stupid cut that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Dude, it's funny you bring up Paul Hogan, because I've actually been kind of on this, like, I hope I come across this movie. I doubt I ever will.
Mm-hmm.
But Paul Hogan in like the mid 90s. Well, 1994, I looked it up. So this was a real thing, right? Paul Hogan and Cuba Gooding Jr. were in a Western together called Lightning Jack.
Oh, I've heard of it. I've never seen it.
You never saw this?
I was like, I never saw it, but I'm like, the cover looks exactly like Crocodile Dundee. And for the longest time, I thought it was like in some other country they called it Lightning Jack instead of Crocodile Dundee. I was so confused because his hat looks so similar.
Well, yeah.
But no, it's a different movie that I have not seen.
Oh man. I remember watching this as a kid and just being like, I love this movie. Forgot about it for the longest time. And I'm not kidding. It's been like the last 2 months. I've just been, it popped back in my head. I'm like, I need to find that again and have not been able to find it.
Interesting.
Watch. I say that now and it's going to pop up right when I look for it. And I'm going to be like,
it was right here the whole time.
All this time.
Yeah, probably. Well, you look for that. Possibly the most bizarre sentence I've ever read on the internet. You found it?
Yes, I hate the internet sometimes.
It's all out there. You just gotta dig it up. Probably the most bizarre sentence I've ever read is that M. Night Shyamalan is making a new movie that he is directing and co-writing with Nicholas Sparks. So your face is exactly how everybody feels.
What?
M. Night Shyamalan is co-creating an original supernatural romantic thriller co-written with Nicholas Sparks. M. Night will direct, and it will star Jake Gyllenhaal.
So, okay, so we know what the story is. All right, so supernatural thriller. Okay, so it's who knows what
it's gonna be like. It's gonna be Ghost. It's gonna be that he was dead the whole time.
Oh my god!
And
it's gonna be,
but they're in love,
dude,
from beyond the grave.
It's gonna be like Ghost mixed with any Nicholas Sparks story. So the main character's gonna die at the end.
Or die in the middle and then become a ghost.
Or die in the middle and become a ghost. It's gonna be really bad. It's gonna have some like super terrible title. It's gonna be like let's see here. What's a stupid Nicholas Sparks title? It's like, can you tell I'm a fan?
Yeah, I sure can.
It's gonna be like Only You or something vague like that. Yeah.
Touched by an Angel.
Oh my gosh, what if they're just making a Touched by an Angel movie? You remember that show?
Yeah, I do.
What if they're just what if that's what they're doing? They're gonna make it into a movie, but instead of an angel, M. Night's gonna turn it into some like not Ghost, because he's done Ghost. What hasn't he done?
It'd be like Heaven Can Wait. Did you ever see that movie?
With Warren Beatty?
Yeah, I think so. Is it Warren Beatty? Maybe not. Oh yeah, it is Warren Beatty. You nailed it.
Doubted me. Come on, man.
Yeah, it's basically gonna be that.
Oh my gosh. I don't know how to feel about that. That's such a weird combo.
It's a very, very awkward and bizarre combination. Something you never thought would happen.
It would be really funny. Watch it. It's going to end up being like the scariest movie ever made. It's going to be just like, it's going to be like The Sixth Sense all over again, where people are going to walk out and being like, oh my gosh, my whole life.
I can't believe we doubted him.
Right.
He's finally back.
It's going to be just this life-altering film, or it's
The Notebook meets
biggest
Silver
trade.
Yeah, probably. That sounds accurate.
Oh man, Oh, we didn't even talk about The Watchers. That's okay.
The Watchers? Oh, the movie. Yeah. I forgot about that. I did forget about that.
Nice, Jake. Nice.
Speaking of train wrecks, apparently Amazon is trying to badger Barbara Broccoli into expanding the Bond franchise like the MCU with shows and spin-off movies, and she is not standing for it. She says that people at Amazon are fucking idiots. She said that in one meeting, an executive or participant from Amazon said, "I have to be honest, I don't think James Bond is a hero." Props to Barbara Broccoli. In Babs We Trust is what I say. She is not letting them ruin Bond, at least to this point, and I hope that she stands strong.
Yeah. They want to turn Bond into the MCU.
Yeah.
That doesn't even make sense. Like, at all.
They just want more content, more spin-offs, more shows instead of waiting, 5 or more years to get a movie.
It just doesn't make sense. What? Not everything has to be a franchise. The MCU works because it's like a specific thing. It's based on comic books, which so there are so many.
Yeah, it's kind of started self-fulfilling and being a mirror of the comic book model, which is that there are some really good ones and there's a lot of shit ones.
Right.
And you kind of just start picking and choosing once they start pumping out too many for you to follow.
Right.
And that's what the MCU is.
That's what it's going to end up doing. It's crazy, but that formula only works for that specific style of thing. Taking property like Bond, which already has a set way of doing things that works. It's proven to work. Why?
Right.
Why? What's the point? I don't understand what the point on that is.
I think the point is that Amazon doesn't know what they're doing, and they just want. I mean, they're going to make Rings of Power with the same thing that they did with Rings of Power. They're going to do that to Bond. Luckily, they don't have the ability to actually create anything with Bond. They just are distributors of it.
I'm just shocked
she
that
still retains
Rings of Power is still a show, because it's so funny to me. I have yet to see anyone praise it. In fact, I know a couple people.
I don't think I've ever seen anybody do that.
Yeah, I know a couple people that what the heck is that? Why is that? But it keeps didn't they just renew it for yet another season that no one's gonna watch?
I don't know. I think the second season came out or is being made or is going to come out. I don't know. I'm not following.
I don't know.
It might be out.
I got did I ever even finish 2 episodes? I may have quit before finishing 2 episodes.
I think that's where I was at.
Maybe I did.
I was like, I get the gist.
Yeah, it was really bad. It was so boring. For Lord of the Rings, it was like, come on. But, yeah, I don't got anything.
Okay. I think this could be our last piece of movie news, and maybe the one everyone's waiting for us to talk about, because they know we are gigantic fanboys and are going to have opinions on Christopher Nolan's new movie.
Yep.
Ulysses.
Yep.
And all of the cast is bizarre to me. Do you feel that way?
Yeah.
The cast. So I'm excited that he's doing Ulysses. I'm excited about the scope and the story and the historical aspect of it. For a long time, I wasn't sure if he would do a period movie like back then, or if it would be like a modern adaptation or whatever. But it sounds like it's period. It sounds like it's filmed in location. It sounds like it's very true to scale and everything. But the cast I have questions about. So confirmed so far: Matt Damon, Tom Holland, Zendaya, Anne Hathaway, which Anne Hathaway you kind of get, Lupita Nyong'o, Robert Pattinson, which you also kind of get, Charlize Theron, John Bernthal, Benny Safdie, John Leguizamo, Elliot Page, Samantha Morton, who I thought was Sigourney Weaver based on her photo, but it's not.
No.
I don't know who Samantha Morton is. Himesh Patel and Bill Irwin. And I think Maya Goth is now in talks with joining the cast as well.
Okay.
That sounds... First of all, none of those people are people that I would think of when I think of Ulysses
Like
and a
Greek tragedy. Yeah.
Greek epic tragedy, yeah.
The Matt Damon...
Full of gods and Zeus and
Right.
Athena and Poseidon and Cyclops and sirens and all that.
Yeah, the cast is different for sure.
With the exception of Robert Pattinson
Well, I
and John Leguizamo and kind of John Bernthal, I don't really like any of these people. That's part of the problem.
yeah. Matt Damon makes sense to me. You know, they've worked with each other briefly.
Yeah.
Well, and extensively in Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer. Yeah.
I was thinking Interstellar at first.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's fun that he's bringing back some friendly faces. I like that he's doing that.
Uh-huh.
I greatly wish that one of those friendly faces would have been Guy Pearce.
Oh, yeah. That would be really cool.
Right? Yeah, the cast is weird to me. Pattinson makes sense just because he's working on making such a... not working on... He has made such a cool name for himself in the business. The one that, like, I'm just like, what role would you play in a Greek epic of, like, sailing the sea, trying to return home after these wars and encountering mythical things? Is Elliot Page.
Yeah. Which I don't know. Elliot Page has never been in a Christopher Nolan movie.
Well,
Ellen Page was in a
Ellen
Christopher
Page
Nolan
was,
movie.
yeah.
And I don't know that Elliot Page, I don't know when they stopped acting. And if this is the first time since being Elliot Page that
No,
they're
so
acting in.
Elliot Page was on the Umbrella Academy
Oh,
on
okay, never seen it.
Netflix, yeah.
But it seems random.
Tom Holland and Zendaya
Together.
cracks me up. I don't understand it. I really don't. But it cracks me up because I was like, oh my gosh. These two, like, yeah, I guess they're together. Who cares? They're not a package deal unless they've made this like a clause, which doesn't make sense. Well, maybe it does after Tom Holland watched Challengers and was like, wow, I had to sit and watch my girl play these two guys. Gross. But I was like, I'm with you, Jake. I'm like, I don't understand the cast. This is such a, I don't know, shallow thing to like be stuck on.
Yeah.
But I'm like, the only guy in this cast that's like built for Greek people
Having just come from the Trojan War.
would be John Bernthal.
Yeah.
Like, no offense, Pattinson, but you're also not jacked. He might get jacked.
Yeah.
Or at least
He's got to get,
bulk up.
he's going to be left over with the Batman jackness.
Right.
Who isn't jacked? He's just kind of shredded.
But, like, when you think Greek stuff, you're either thinking like crazy old guys, super jacked dudes, super beautiful, very like well-maintained women. But Like there's no scrawny, and if there is scrawny, they're like, oh, you're the poor and on the streets that no one wants to deal with.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know what any of you are going to play in this.
Yeah. It'll be very intriguing to see what the roles are and how they get assigned.
The cast also kind of, there's a lot of British.
Yeah.
We've got the trans. This cast looks like Nolan was forced to show, like, look, I have diversity in my cast.
Could be. Yeah. Yeah. None of them are Greek, at least on the surface.
Right. But because he's with Paramount now.
Yeah.
Why would you? I don't know. This is an interesting one. I'm like,
So let me ask you this. Is your faith in him enough that it doesn't matter? Or could you have some concern and lower expectations because of it?
so I think the movie will be good because it's Christopher Nolan.
Mhm.
I could also see seeing this one end up being considered a weak film in his filmography
Mm-hmm.
based on a lot of the time when movies stack their cast
Mm-hmm.
and it becomes like such a focused ensemble,
Yeah.
the movie suffers
Mm-hmm.
more times than not. So,
Yeah. More about getting how many names can you get
right.
to put in the credits
And
and put in the trailer.
I think it's a tall order for him coming off of the success of Oppenheimer because he took such a, and I know some people are like, they still stand by, they think Oppenheimer was boring. I think you're crazy. That movie's intense. But he took a 3-hour dialogue only film, made it exciting, and
Biopic.
it became one of the most like highest grossing films of the year.
Mhm.
One of them. And he's going to follow it up with this massive Greek tale.
Yeah.
Expectation might hurt it. Stacking the cast in such a unique way might hurt it.
Mhm. It's kind of the opposite where you have, a biopic about a physicist, how epic can it be? And it ends up being epic. Now you have an epic story. How do you go even more? Or is it even possible to go even more?
So I think he will deliver a fantastic movie. I think it will be great. I think it's going to be true Nolan form.
Mhm.
But I think there's going to be a lot of people, you and I included, because we have to include ourselves in this,
Mhm.
that will go into the movie still thinking, I am not a fan of this cast. And I think that's going to distract us a little.
I worry that I will see the actor instead of the character in all of the characters, as opposed to maybe just one or two where it usually is, which is always distracting.
Because chances are we know exactly how Anne Hathaway is going to play whatever character she's playing. Sorry, Anne.
Even though I love her in Interstellar.
Like, you're fantastic in what you do, but we still see Anne Hathaway more times than not. I think Tom Holland could potentially be the surprise, like, oh, dang, there he is. I think Robert Pattinson is going to be fantastic. He's proven himself a lot. I think Matt Damon is going to be pretty good. Charlize Theron will be good. Barenthal is a toss-up for me.
He's usually pretty good.
I bet.
I'm kind of really excited about John Leguizamo. That piece, I'm like, that's interesting.
I think he's going to play him, though.
Probably.
Like, he's probably going to be some kind of shady character where you can't tell if he's going to be like a bad guy or if you can trust him. I think he's going to be that style character. I just rewatched The Menu, and he's in it. The Menu's so good. Like,
it is good.
That movie is
I like The Menu
so
too.
underrated. The Menu is great. I think that's my favorite Anna Taylor-Joy film, honestly.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I think it is.
It's definitely good.
I think he'll turn out a good movie, dude. But with you in terms of the cast, I'm like, when I think Greek tragedy, Greek epic, none of these people are who I would think.
Yeah,
you would think like when they did Troy, where you're like, Brad Pitt makes sense, Eric Bana made sense for that role. Like,
even scrawny little Legolas, what's his name?
Oh, Orlando Bloom.
Orlando Bloom. Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll find out. It'll be interesting. I think the timing's weird too because they just made the movie The Return, which I really want to see. It's with Ralph Fiennes.
Is that about Ulysses?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
have not seen that.
Yeah. I think it was called The Return.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Came out December 2024.
I think the
Interesting.
timing is interesting.
Yeah.
That
I have not heard anything about this movie.
Right. I want to see it because I've heard that it's actually pretty decent.
Okay.
But yeah, I think the timing on it is just like, Nolan's releasing a very similar movie.
Well, probably in a couple of years.
Shortly after. Well, it's slated for next year. So yeah, about a year, 2 years tops difference.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. I'm trying to because Nolan has been perfect in my opinion up to now.
Yeah, I would agree.
I think we have to kind of be like, when is it gonna? He tripped up because everyone has it.
Right.
Spielberg did it, and we still hold Spielberg up as like one of the all-time greats.
Oh, it certainly won't ruin him, but it's just kind of the shoe you're waiting to drop. You're like, you can't have a perfect batting average your entire career.
Right. Like even
Nobody
Tom
does.
Brady lost 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah. How many shots did Michael Jackson, or not Michael Jackson?
Michael Jordan.
Michael Jackson didn't miss any shots. Michael Jordan,
Yeah. Even Patrick Mahomes has lost a Super Bowl. And obviously we're recording before the next one, but hoping that he loses another one on Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But he probably won't.
All of America hopes that.
All of America is debating, do we actually watch the Super Bowl this year?
Yeah, pretty much.
Can't even trust the commercials these days.
All right.
All right.
Well, I think that was a proper return.
It went on for so long.
3.5 hours. It's after midnight where you are.
I know. I'm dying.
So we need to go to bed. Thank you, everybody. It's nice to be back.
Yeah, thanks.
Excited about it. And get excited about the Movie Bonerz Awards. Those are coming up next episode. And then after that's the movie draft. You're going to find out who wins, who retains the belt, who earns the belt, and what the rest of 2025 looks like.
Yeah, because we're going to have to skip a couple months.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, everybody.
See ya.
See ya.